The best of /no sleep. Stories, news, and drama. All of this happening on the Opinion Podcast. Halloween special.
Hello everyone and welcome to this Halloween special of the Opinion Podcast. My name is Victor, you may know me as VSwede HD, and I'm here with Jimmy.
Woo!
Pascal Rem.
Shut the fuck up.
We have Dank. He's no answer. And
Silence.
yeah, and we have Max here today, special guest.
Hello, guys.
How do you do? And so, if you've seen the intro, you probably heard stories, news, and drama. Fuck that! Because Undertale 2 pretty much came out. The internet went fucking crazy, and we probably spent 1.5 hours playing it.
And so did I!
Yeah. We went like 1.5 hours playing it, and I had no time to research. But don't worry, we'll come out with a normal episode of just normal stories, news, and drama.
Undertale 2? What?
Yeah. If you
Undertale 2?
Yeah, if you check not Toby Fox's Twitter, but
Fucking, I'm booting my laptop up.
I'm booming my laptop up.
It's basically called... There you go.
Yeah.
My laptop's not reacting.
Oof.
I smashed the keyboard, that's why.
Why do you smash your electronics, dude?
The Windows button is broken.
Look, good job.
Every electronic you have is smashed.
Nice. Always
You're
break.
basically the human version of the crew.
The human version of the fucking crew. All right.
Smash.
What the hell? But yeah, we're gonna come out with a normal episode on Sunday as always. So yeah, just stay tuned for that if you're looking forward for other shit. Since this is a Halloween special, we're still gonna do the r/no sleep top posts. I've hand selected 4 top posts. One, a shattered life. It has gotten 6 Reddit gold. Next story after that is something happened 63 years ago that haunted me my entire life. I've never told anyone about it until now. It's gotten 5 Reddit gold. I met someone who claimed to be the devil, and I think I believed them. It's been awarded 4 Reddit gold. And then last one we're gonna do is emergency alert, and it has been awarded 1 Reddit gold. Now, before we get into the post, do you all have any creepy stories that has ever happened to you?
I think I already told my ghost stories.
I have
You
a
think?
scary story, but
Oh,
it's not
wait a minute.
creepy.
I actually do
Wait.
have one.
Wait
I
for-
actually do have one.
Let Jimmy answer the shit. All right, what you got?
So, it actually. Do you remember? when I went on a
Actually,
Disneyland
before we continue with the story, I should also announce pretty early. I haven't announced this very in a special way yet, but we are now available on Podbean and Spotify, which is very nutty.
Nice.
Yes. And
Yeah.
and if you go to Podbean and listen to our podcast from there, ads may play on the podcast. And by playing ads, you support us. So
Yes.
yeah,
Right.
so, that's very nutty. So our podcast is available on topod.podbean.com, and of course you search up the Opinion Podcast on Spotify if you want it on Spotify. Anyways, continue with your story, Jimmy.
So, do you remember when I went on a Disneyland trip before school ended?
Yeah, you said that sometime to us.
Yeah. So, we done everything planned on our Disneyland trip except for the toy world.
The what? You kind of glitched out a little bit.
There was I don't think this is the exact name, but it's kind of like it's kind of like a merry-go-round ride to where you go around the world, kind of like that.
Right.
It has singing animatronic kind of thing.
It's a small
Anyway.
world after all, or whatever.
Yeah, it's that one. It's that one.
Yeah.
Thank you. So that was one of the things we planned to do, but we didn't get to do it due to time crunch. But
Right.
a few days after I got back from my Disney trip, news got around that during the time I was there, a family disappeared on that ride and is actually still on it in another dimension because
Oh?
so you know the Disneyland wristbands, they take pictures no matter where they are of the people so the workers can keep track of them.
Right.
And a worker was looking at the pictures database of the family's wristbands to try to find them. They're still on the ride. The freaking father and kids were dead in the back seat, with the mother and her last child hugging, and the two animatronics sitting with them.
What
But
the fuck?
when they checked the ride, all they found was the father's hat and the family's phones. They found no bands or nothing.
What the fuck? That's some
That's pretty scary.
that's some FNAF
Yeah, so-
shit. What the fuck?
So yeah, I am actually grateful that I did not go on.
Yo, we
Right
could
now.
have lost Jimmy boys. What the fuck? Rest in peace to the people that died there. What the fuck?
FNAF 7
Yeah.
maybe?
Holy hell.
FNAF 7.
FNAF 7 Disney.
what Disneyland?
Now
Isn't that
7, just a fucking picture of a merry-go-round.
Yeah,
picture of a
long
merry-go-round?
long story short,
You could have
I'm glad I
died.
didn't go on there.
Yeah. Max,
Am I
you,
seriously being
yeah.
wrong in the middle of a podcast?
You're being called? Oh,
I'm
bring
in
it.
the middle of a podcast, love.
What?
I'm in the middle of a podcast.
Alright, well, call me when you get off of
Hi.
Okay. Hey.
I'm thankful you didn't add another
we're good.
K, because then it would be racist as fuck. Anyways, Max, you have another story?
No, I don't think so. It's not like it's not scary.
Yeah, well, you said there was something creepy.
Not really creepy, but it was scary for me and my friend.
Right.
So tell it.
Yeah, tell it.
Once, like in fourth grade, I don't know. I was following my friend home, and we basically just like walked on the road, and two big fucking dogs just ran out and attacked us.
Oh?
They literally fucking attacked us. We had to run for our lives.
You had to run for your lives. Now that seems like a story to me.
That would be scary.
That
I
was
mean,
really
if anything was
scary.
chasing me in the middle of the fucking dark, and it could just be the death of me, I'm just like,
Yeah. Yeah.
Or just pull out a shotgun like.
well, you
Bitch.
bitch.
I can picture Dank actually always having a shotgun on him.
I mean, he has a basement under there. He has like a bunch of guns.
Oh damn.
Just a few.
Just a few.
Just a few.
Yeah, just a few
So,
M9.
thanks
Just
a
a,
lot for fucking saying that.
yeah, just some
You
M9
go
carbons. Just
down
an
into the
M4.
basement. You go down
The
into the
FBI is
basement,
coming.
and the walls are lined with guns. There's fucking ammo packs.
I mean,
There's
coming.
Resident Evil down there.
I mean, it seems like you would know how it would how it looks, Jimmy, because you're American. Yeah, instantly just gonna go.
I'm not exactly. I may be American, but I'm not. I'm Stabby. If I did have
I'm
to
Stabby.
choose a gun, though, I think I'd like. If I did have to choose a gun, it would either be dual pistols
Or a shotgun.
or my personal favorite, the shotgun.
Yeah, and that
Because of
beautiful.
Beautiful shotgun.
Yeah, beautiful shotgun ammo. There you go.
That
was a-
beautiful shotgun ammo.
That was a meme that was spawned thanks to our Blood and Bacon series. Max probably hasn't seen that series. Have you?
No, I haven't.
Well, you don't be like Max
Believe
and
it or
go
not.
check it out. Well,
Believe it or not, I actually
yes,
still.
yes,
I
self.
still go back and watch that series.
Right, you do.
Yeah.
Wedding. I don't
Like,
want
watch all of our series except for Roblox.
Except, yeah, we don't go back to Roblox. We don't go back. No.
I don't even know anything from that time.
Yeah, like you were wondering, what the fuck, did we record any of this? And I'm just like, yes, we did!
Victor showed me when he was.
Pascal
I'm
wasn't even
outside.
pretending. He was legitimately
Wait.
clueless.
Wait, Max,
Victor,
yeah?
Victor, did you remember like in first grade? You fucking showed me one of your Roblox videos without sound.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Oh,
You told the teacher that you could donate.
did I? Hey, can you please donate to me? I'll use it to buy more Minecraft currency.
Give me fucking money, please.
I was asking a teacher, can you please donate to me, please? Yeah, that was back in the day. That was back in the days when I was a
Victor,
fucking idiot.
Victor,
What is your
that should be
favorite
personal
food?
verse.
Hey.
It's just your past. That should be a personal verse. It's just your Doge Roblox avatar saying, "Donate to me, please."
Donate,
That
please.
should be a merch, dude.
Yes.
That should be a merch. Just
I mean-
like it's your Roblox avatar, and it's just top to bottom donut. Donate.
Donut. Donut. Do not
me.
nut on my property, please.
Yeah. that
We
should
don't
be
want to. We don't want to
merch.
clean up that
Top
shit. Just
bottom
fucking.
donate, please.
Yeah, we don't want to clean that up. Any other spooky stories or anything like that? No.
No.
That's the only one I have.
Fucking stories. Very nice.
Excuse me. What did you say?
Spooky stories.
Spooky
scary
story.
Spooky stories.
I mean, in the tradition of how everyone has memed October this month, we just changing the shit to spoop. My name is VSwede, really.
I'm the gamer pumpkin.
Of course. I mean, why wouldn't he be? We have Max, who is Max is spooky, scary camper. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pascal is Ryuko Spookoi.
Yes.
Mario Man, who is not online right now, is Nightmare Mario Man 745.
Nice.
Basically FNAF 4.
Pretty much.
Of course.
And then we have Happy Camper, who is just a happy camper. And then Dank
That's one
Fortress.
of my friends.
Dank Fortress is just a dank bongo cat.
With the
For Halloween,
not
I
a
just
beer,
pictured
Mom.
Dave dressing up as Bongo Cat, but with MLG glasses.
Yeah,
and a
but
casing
with
monster.
tits.
Fucking
no.
the
Wait,
pictures I
wait.
sent to you
I
on
thought you
DMs.
liked the Rule 34 artwork of Bongo Cat.
I mean,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
not gonna deny it.
That's where I almost fucking died.
You almost died at the Bongo Cat.
It's just instead of
Double
bongos, she plays her natural bongos.
Natural bongos. You call them fucking natural bongos. That looks like plastic surgery to me. It honestly does.
Lots of girls have kind of tits that are natural.
This is a family-friendly podcast, please.
Don't round it
Yes.
up, pal. Don't be about that.
But yeah, that should be everything there. So, first of all, first story, we're going to this one, titled "A Shattered Life." This one is part of a series, though, so we might have just missed out on a bit of backstory, but fuck that, am I right? Hey, yeah. So I'm actually going to zoom in because it's kind of hard for me to read. Here we go. All right. I'm gonna take a few breaks where I feel like it's. I'm gonna take breaks every second, like line, if that's correct. Not line and not text line, but like stack line. You know what I mean. So I don't know when you're going to read this, but I can tell you when it started. I was out for a walk alone in the woods when the entity came for me. It was beyond a blur. It was, for lack of a better term, absence of meaning. Where it hid, there were no trees. Where it crept closer, there was no grass. Though the arc, through the arc, it leaped at me. There was no breeze of motion. There was no air at all. As it struck, I felt the distinct sensation of claws puncturing me somewhere unseen, somewhere I'd never felt before. My hands and arms and legs and torso seemed fine and I wasn't bleeding, but I knew I'd been injured somehow. As I fearfully ran back home, I could tell that I was less. I was vaguely tired, and it was hard to focus at times. So, opinion so far?
if your arms, legs, and torso were fine, but you felt an unnatural pain, that means your soul was injured. That's dangerous shit.
I mean, I don't know. He
The person
well,
probably did.
the person could tell. Well, the person could tell they were less or something, vaguely tired, and it was hard to stay focused that time. The solution at that early stage was easy. A big cup of coffee helped me feel normal again. For a while, that subtle drain on my spirit became lost in the ebb and flow of caffeine in my system. You could say my life began that week, actually, because that was when I met Mar. She and I got along great, though, to be honest, I'm pretty sure I fell in love with her over the phone before we even met. Alright. That's a way to say it. It was almost as if the strong emotions of that first week made the entity fight back. It was still with me, lashed on to some invisible part of my being. Any opinions so far?
Very nice.
Very nice.
Why very nice?
I really hope the entity doesn't ruin anything for this guy.
Maybe it could be a girl. I don't know.
Or girl. I won't judge.
Yeah,
Those being couples are nice.
I was about to say, the first few incidents were minor, and I hardly worried about them. The color of a neighbor's car changed from dark blue to black one morning, and I stared at it before shaking my head and shrugging off the difference. 2 days later, at work, a co-worker's name changed from Fred to Dan. I carefully asked around, but everyone said his name had always been Dan. I figured I'd just been mistaken. Then, as ridiculous as this sounds, I was peeing in my bathroom at home when I suddenly found myself on a random street. I was still in my pajamas, pants down and urinating, but now in full view of dozens of people at a bus stop. Horrified, I pulled up my clothes and ran. This is like a comedy. This is more like comedy than horror for me. Horrified, I pulled my clothes and ran before someone called the cops. I did manage to get home, but the experience forced me to admit that I was still in danger. The entity was doing something to me, and I didn't understand how to fight back. Opinion so far?
I feel like
If you were
Ding,
just
the bell-
teleported while taking a pee, what? How do you fight against that?
I don't know. Ryo, what did you want to say?
Fucking peeing in the middle of nowhere is gonna get you. Yeah, nowhere.
Yeah. Max, what were you about to say?
I feel like this is a remix of Venom.
Venom. What?
I saw it.
What? What?
I mean, like the guy has an entity in him.
Right.
Don't
Yeah.
spoil.
So you're telling me? So by the way, Pascal, you said peeing in the middle of nowhere will get you nowhere. Well,
Yeah.
that or in jail for public indecency.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just one
Yeah,
laugh.
peeing in nowhere gets you nowhere. Like really, just in fucking jail.
Yeah. Mar showed up that evening, but she had her own key. Hey, I asked with confusion. How do you get a key? She just laughed. You're cute. Are you sure you're okay with this? She opened the door and entered a room full of boxes. I know living together is a big step, especially when we've only been dating 3 months. Living together? I'd literally just met her the week before. Thing was, my mother had always called me a smart cookie for a reason. I knew when to shut my yap, and instead of causing a scene, I told her everything was fine. And then I went straight to my room and began investigating. My things were just as I had left them, with no sign of a 3-month gap in habitation. But I did find something out of the ordinary. The date. I shivered angrily as I processed the truth. The entity had eaten 3 months of my life. What the hell was I facing? What kind of creature could consume pieces of one's soul like that? I'd missed the most exciting part of a new relationship, and I would never understand any shared stories or in-jokes from that period. Something absurdly precious had been taken away from me, and I was furious. Any opinions so far?
Damn, son.
That's fucked up.
Change
It is.
Change the story name to That Dick Ass Fucking Entity.
But whatever the entity is, it has the power to teleport people.
Or like not
Teleport himself, maybe.
not teleport, but move
Morph.
time forward. So
Well, also teleportation, because you can't exactly explain pissing in your bathroom and then suddenly pissing in the open.
well, let's say he's teleported to a different time, pretty much. You know?
You can't teleport to a different time when doing a different action.
When you go to a different when you're at a different time, this entity teleports you to the place you were at that time.
Well, I mean, yeah, but why taking a piss?
I don't fucking know. Coincidence? Fucking don't ask me.
Fucking brings you back to that one piss that you really liked.
That one piss you really liked, and then it's like it turns to piss you didn't like. That fury helped suppress the entity. I never embodied alcohol. I drank coffee religiously. Sorry. I checked the date every time I woke up, and for 3 years I managed to live each day while observing nothing more than minor alternations. A social fact here and there, someone's job, how many kids they had, that sort of thing. The layout of nearby streets, the time my favorite television show aired, that kind of thing. Always, those changes reminded me the creature still had his claws sunk into my spirit. Not once in 3 years did I ever let myself zone out. One day I grew
Told
careless.
you it was the soul.
One day I grew careless. I let myself get really into the season finale of my favorite show. It was gripping, a fantastic story. Right at the height of the action, a young boy came up to my lounger and shook my arm. Surprised, I asked, "Who are you? How did you get in here?" He laughed and smiled brightly. "Silly daddy." My heart sank in my chest. I knew immediately what had happened. After a few masked questions, I discovered that he was 2 years old, that he was my son. The agony and heartache filling my chest was nearly unbearable. Not only had I missed the birth of my son, I would never see or know the first years of his life.
Stop glitching into the story.
Mara and I had obviously gone married and started a family in the time I'd lost, and I had no idea what joys or pains those years contained. Any opinion so far?
Yeah.
That's fucked up.
Holy fuck.
Fucked up.
Yeah.
That is seriously this entity is literally taking all of the most glorious moments of a human's life and just ripping it away.
Right.
I just changed from my phone to my computer, so
Wait, what did you say?
I just changed from my phone to my computer.
Right.
Because
Can you turn up the volume of your mic though or something? Cause
You're
it
really
sounds
quiet.
yeah, it sounds
It's trash. It's trash because my old ones broke.
right. Okay.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Oof. It was snowing outside. Holding my sudden son in my lap, I sat and watched the flakes fall outside. What kind of life was this going to be if slips in concentration could cost me years? I had to get help. The church had no idea what to do. The priest didn't believe me and told me I had a health issue rather than some sort of possession. The doctors didn't have any clue. Nothing showed up on all their scans and tests, but they happily took my money in return for nothing. Scam. By the time I ran out of options, I decided to tell more. There was no way to know what this all looked like from her side. What was I like when I wasn't there? Did I still take our son to school? Did I still do my job? Clearly I did, because she seemed to be none the wiser. But I still had a horrible feeling that something must have been missing in her life when I wasn't actually home, inside my head. But the night I set up a nice dinner in preparation, she arrived not by unlocking the front door, but by knocking it. I answered and found that she was in a very nice dress. She was happily surprised by the settings on the table. A fancy dinner for a second date? I knew you were sweet to me. Thank the Lord I knew where to keep my mouth shut. If I'd gone on about being married and having a son, she might have run for the hills. Instead, I took her coat and sat down for our second date. Through carefully crafted questions, I imagined to decide the truth. This really was our second date. She saw relief and happiness in me, but interpreted that as dating jitters. I was just excited to realize that the entity wasn't necessarily eating whole portions of my life. The symptoms, as I was beginning to understand them, were more like the consequences of a shattered soul. The creature had wounded me, broken me into pieces. Perhaps I was to live my life out of order, but at least I would actually get to live it. And so it went for a few years from my perspective, and while minor changes in politics or geography would happen daily, major shifts in my mental location only happen every couple months. When I found myself in a new place and time in my life, I just shut up and listened, making sure to get the lay of the land before doing anything to avoid making mistakes. On the farthest flung leap yet, I met my 6-year-old grandson, and I asked him what he wanted to be when he grew up. He said writer. I told him that was a fine idea. Any opinions so far?
That's going really deep.
Yes.
That's impressive that he learned to accept it.
Yeah. Max, any opinion?
I don't think so.
Right.
I don't even know what I'm supposed to say here.
Yeah. Yes.
Can you stop playing whatever game that is?
I think that's
That's
actually
me.
Pascal.
I can hear.
Yeah, I think
That's me.
that's Pascal though. Then I was back in month 2 of my relationship with Moore, and I had the best night with her on the riverfront. When I say the best, I mean the best. Knowing how special she would become to me, I asked her to move in. I got to live through what I missed the first go-around, and I came to understand that I was never mentally absent. I would always be there, eventually. When we were moving her boxes in, she stopped for a moment and said she marveled at my great love, as if I'd known her for a lifetime and never once doubted she was the one. That was the first time I truly fuck, hold on. My monitor is shutting down on me. That's not good. That was the first time I had truly laughed freely and wholeheartedly since the entity had wounded me. She was right about my love for her, but for exactly the reason she'd considered a silly romantic analogy. I had known her my whole life, and I'd come to terms with my situation and found peace with it. It wasn't so bad to have sneak peeks at all the best parts ahead. But of course, I wouldn't be writing this if it hadn't gone worse. The entity was still with me. It had not wounded me and departed like I'd wanted to believe. The closest I can describe my growing understanding was that the creature was burrowing deeper into my psyche, fracturing it into smaller pieces. Instead of months between major shifts, I began having only weeks. Once I noticed that trend, I feared my ultimate fate would be to jump between times in my life, heartbeat by heartbeat, forever confused, forever lost. Only an instant in each time meant I would never be able to speak with anyone else. Never be able to hold a conversation, never express or receive love. Any opinions so far?
I am gonna go AFK because I have to go empty the dishwasher.
Oof.
Dishwasher.
Not good.
Dishwasher. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, but he's finally starting to begin to realize his kind of like fate. You know? He's probably gonna die.
Not be able to necessarily live it, but at least he knows he had a really good life.
Yeah.
He won't be able to live it, but at least it's not ruined.
Yeah. As the true depth of that fear came upon me, I sat in an older version of me and watched the snow falling outside. That was the one constant in my life. The weather didn't care who I was or what pains I had to face. Nature was always there. The falling snow was always like a little hook that kept me in a place. The pure emotional peace it brought was like a panacea of my mental wounds, and I'd never yet shifted while watching the pattern of falling white and thinking of the times I'd gone sledding or built a snow fort as a child. A teenager touched my arm. Grandpa? Eh? He startled me. He would startle me out of my thoughts, so I was less careful than usual. Who are you? He half grinned as if not sure whether I was joking. Handing me a stack of papers, he said, "It's my first attempt at a novel. Would you read it and tell me what you think?" "Ah, of course. Pursuing that dream of being a writer, I see." He burned bright red. "Trying to, anyway." "Alright, run off. I'll read this right now." The words were blurry and annoyed. I looked for glasses I probably had for reading. Being old was terrible, and I wanted to leap back into a younger year, but not before I read this book. I found my glasses in a sweater pocket and began leafing through. More puttered in and out of the living room, still beautiful, but I had to focus. I didn't know how much time I would have there. It seemed that we had relatives over. Was it Christmas? A pair of adults and a couple of kids I didn't recognize trampled through the hallway, and I saw my son, now adult, walk by with his wife on the way out the door. As a group, the extended family began sledding outside. Opinion so far? His son now has a family in the future. Really big ass family. Jimmy, any opinion?
I'm just happy his life went well. Whether or not he got to live it, that is a shame. But
yeah,
since
he can't live his life,
that,
but he gets peeks of what his life was.
Yeah, like he doesn't get to live his life, but the knowledge of knowing that his life was actually good. Well done.
Yeah. Well, it could skip past bad parts of his life. Probably.
Well, even if there was bad parts, it was obvious that it worked out in the end.
Right. Finally, I finished reading the story, and I called out for my grandson. He rushed down the stairs and into the living room. How was it? Well, it's terrible, I told him truthfully. But it's terrible for all the right reasons. You're still a young man, so your characters behave like young people, but the structure of the story itself is very solid. I paused. I didn't expect it to turn out to be a horror story. He nodded. It's a reflection of the times. Expectations for the future are this small. Not hopeful like they used to be. You're far too young to be aware like that, I told him. An idea occurred to me. If you're into horror, do you know anything about strange creatures? Sure. I read everything I can. I love it. Warily, I scanned the entrances to the living room. Everyone was busy outside. For the first time, I opened up to someone in my life about what I was experiencing. In hushed tones, I told him about my fragmented consciousness. For a teenager, he took it well. You're serious? Yes. He donned the determined look of a grown man accepting a quest. I'll look into that, see what I can find out. You should start writing down everything you experience. Build some data. Maybe we can map your psychic wound. Wow. Sounds like a plan. I was surprised. It made sense, and I hadn't expected him to have a serious response. But how will I get all the notes in one place? Let's come up with somewhere for you to leave them, he said, frowning with thought. Then I'll get them, and we can trace the path you're taking through your life. See if there's a pattern. What was it? I just heard Pascal say something. I was like, the fuck was that?
I think that was Dank.
No, that wasn't Dank. That was Pascal.
Yeah, it went BRB, I think.
Yeah, maybe. For the first time since the situation had gotten worse, I felt hope again. How about under the stairs? Nobody ever goes under there. Sure, he turned and left the living room. I peered after him. I heard him banging around near the stairs. Finally, he returned with a box, laid it on the carpet, and opened it to reveal a bursting stack of papers. He exclaimed, "Holy crap!" But of course, being a teenager, he didn't really say crap. Taken back, I blinked rapidly, forgiving his cussing because of the shock. Did I write those? He looked up at me with wonder. Yeah, or you will. You still have to write them and put them under the stairs after this. He gazed back down at
That
the
isn't.
papers, then
That
covered
is
the
actually
box.
really cool.
Yeah. So
It
you
is
probably
insane to think that it's time traveling through his own life.
Yeah.
Well, you've lost me here.
yeah. So you
I'm keeping it up. I'm keeping up with it very well.
Yeah. So he's been leaving notes in the box all this time. Or like, once that idea comes to mind, it has already happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. He gazed back down at the papers, then covered the box. So you probably shouldn't see what they say. That could get weird. That much I understood. Right. He gulped. There are like 50 boxes under here, all filled up like this. Deciphering these will take a very long time. His tone dropped to deadly serious.
Yeah, boy.
Welcome back. But I will save you, Grandpa.
Welcome back, my dude.
Because I don't think anyone else can. So, he told his grandson in the future, when he was an adult, and when he wrote a novel about his strange events. And then the grandson got the idea of, how do you say it? The grandson got the idea of him writing down notes about his experiences so that he can analyze his mental structure. And then they go and find boxes, and these boxes are filled with these notes already. So that means anything he wants to bring into his life is already, like, brought in somehow.
It's like, basically, it's like he's time traveling through his own life. So the second, even though he just now thought about the papers, he already written all the papers.
I wonder if he can control it, but don't know it.
I don't know.
It never really was said, was it?
I mean, that's what I kind of think. If he like thinks like, oh, what if I do this, and it's like, oh, it's already been done. I don't know.
It would appear the only time he actually shown control, if you remember, is if he's held concentrated, if he's held like constant thoughts. But the second his mind wanders, it skips through time because he was on a constant beat for 3 years. But the second he got immersed in his own TV show, it ahead his child.
Yeah.
I missed everything because we just had a power outage.
Oh, you had a power outage?
Well then,
Yeah.
So pretty much, the grandson wrote a novel. The grandpa told him about his experiences, and the grandson is like, oh, let's put your notes in a box and we can analyze your mind. Then he went down. He went to the stairs where the boxes were. There were 50 boxes filled with all of these notes that he had written. So it's like he's time traveling through his own life. And my dad is calling me. My battery's at 9% charge as well. Hold on. Ja, hallå? Ja, vad är det? Ja, jag går och hämtar det eftersom jag spelar in en podcast. Ja. Ja, hejdå. I'm just gonna go down and get some food. Can you guys... Just go in and just entertain the audience for a bit. Just don't be racist, alright?
How do we entertain the audience?
How the fuck?
Did something just happen to you?
Me?
Yeah, you just out of nowhere went, hold up, up.
No. Thanks, stop fapping, you fucking bitch.
Chill.
This is not family friendly anymore.
No, absolutely fucking
We
not.
lost our ads. Fuck.
You're making it worse.
Rip the money.
I'm back, boys!
what happened?
The fuck was that?
Victor, are you okay?
Victor, what
He
did
just
you
fell
drop?
over. He went to his room and fell over.
He dropped the stick on the floor.
What are you guys talking about?
What the fuck did you just drop?
I didn't drop anything.
It sounded like you like fell or something.
Victor,
Yeah.
this is not family friendly anymore.
Not anymore.
Why is it not family
No.
friendly?
Because as soon as you left, they was starting to swear and
Well,
As long as it wasn't the N-word, that's fine.
it wasn't the end.
Nah, I mean it was good.
It wasn't. That's good.
It was just fuck, bitch, asshole,
Good.
that kind of shit.
Yeah. Tears slowed down my cheeks then, and I couldn't help but sob once or twice. I hadn't realized how lonely I'd become in my shifting prison of awareness until I finally had someone who understood. Thank you. Thank you so much. And then I was young again, and at work on a random Tuesday. Once the sadness and relief faded, anger and determination replaced them. After I finished my work, I grabbed some papers and began writing. While the weeks shifted around me, with those weeks became days, and then hours, about every single spare moment about when and where I thought I was. I put them under the stairs out of order. My first box was actually the 13th, and my last box was the 1st. Once I had over 50 boxes written from my perspective, and once my shifting became a matter of minutes, I knew it was up to my grandson to take it from there. I put my head down and stopped looking. I couldn't stand the river of changing awareness any longer. Names and places and dates and jobs and colors and people were all wrong and different. I'd never been older. I sat down watching the snow fall. A man of at least 30 that I vaguely recognized entered the room. Come on, I think I finally figured it out. I was so frail that moving was painful. Are you him? Are you my grandson? Yes. He took me to a room filled with strange equipment and sat me in a rubber chair facing a large mirror twice the height of a man. The pattern finally revealed itself. How long have you worked on this? I asked him. I gasped. Tell me you didn't miss your life like I'm missing mine. His expression was both stone cold and furiously resolute. It'll be worth it, he brought 2 thin metal rods close to my arm and then nodded at the mirror. Look, this shock is carefully calibrated. The electric sap from his device was startling but not painful. In the mirror I saw a rapid arcing light silhouette appear above my head and shoulder. The electricity moved through the creature like a wave, briefly revealing the terrible nature of what was happening to me. A bulging leash-like mouth was wrapped around the back of my head, coming down to my eyebrows and touching each ear, and its slug-like body ran over my shoulder and into my very soul. It was a parasite, and it was feeding on my mind. Any opinion?
Damn, son, it's a fucking.
Okay, well, we now know the creature.
It's a parasite.
this person has literally seen Venom.
Pretty much.
Because
Eat a worm.
first of all,
Monster.
Venom is a parasite.
Yeah.
And second, Venom doesn't like electricity.
Please stop comparing it to Venom.
I mean, this could just be a Venom teaser. I don't fucking know. But Venom makes you into a monster, not into a time-traveling
No,
piece of
because
shit.
Venom is actually part. He becomes a part of you, and you can talk to him.
Yeah. Yeah, but it doesn't make you time travel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you can pretty
So
much eat
it's
your
not
body.
Yeah,
Venom,
but it
so
is
please
pretty.
stop.
Yeah, but it's the same. Somehow. My now adult grandson held my hand as I took in the terror. After a moment, he asked, "Removing it is going to hurt very badly. Are you up for this?" Fearful, I asked, "Is more here?" His face softened. "No, not for a few years now." I could tell from his reaction what had happened, but I didn't want it to be true. How? "We have this conversation a lot," he responded. "Are you sure you want to know? It never makes you feel better." Tears brimmed my eyes. then I don't care if it hurts or if I die. I don't want to stay in a time where she's not alive. He made a sympathetic noise of understanding and then returned to his machines to hook several wires, diodes, and other bits of technology to my limbs and forehead. While he did so, he talked. I worked for 2 decades to figure this out, and I've had a ton of help from other researchers of the occult. This parasite doesn't technically exist in our plane. It's one of the lesser spawns of, okay. Weird symbols. Hold on. Let me just copy and paste them here into, there. It should be on the Hangouts chat right now. It's you.
That weird, see a sharp S. Like.
It's a U. It's a U sharp S B and a U. And it feeds on the
Q.
Right. And it feeds on the plexus of mind, soul, and quantum consciousness / reality. When details like names and colors of objects changed, you weren't going crazy. The web of your existence was merely losing strands as the creature ate its way through you. I didn't fully understand. I looked up in confusion as he placed as he placed a circlet of electrons, like a crown, on my head, in exact line with where the parasite's mouth had ringed me. What's U sharp BU? He paused his work and grew pale. I forgot that you wouldn't know. You're lucky, believe me. After a deep breath, he began moving again, and placed his fingers near a few switches. Ready? This is carefully tuned to make your nervous system extremely unappetizing to the parasite, but it's basically electroshock therapy. I could still see Mars smile, even though she was dead. I'd just been with her moments ago. Do it. The click of a switch echoed my ears, and I almost laughed at how mild the electricity was. It didn't feel like anything, at least then. Then I saw the mirror shaking, and my body within that image, convulsing. Oh, no. It did hurt. Nothing had ever been more painful. It was just so excruciating that my mind hadn't been able to immediately process it. As my vision shook and fire burned in every nerve of in my body, I could see the reflected, trembling light silhouette of the parasite on my head as it writhed in agony equal to mine. It had claws, 6 clawed-like, lizard-like limbs under its leash-like body, and it cut into me in an attempt to stay latched on. The electricity made my memories flare. Mars' smile was foremost, lit brightly in front of a warm fire as the snow fell past the window behind her. The edges of that memory began lighting up, as I realized that my life was one continuous stretch of experience. It was only the awareness of it that had been fragmented by that feasting evil on my back. I'd never managed to be there for the birth of my son. I jumped around it a dozen times, but never actually lived it. For the first time, I got to hold Mars's hand and be there for her. No. That moment had shifted seamlessly into holding her hand as she lay in a hospital bed for a very different reason. Not this. God, why? Why was so merciless? It was so merciless to make me remember this. I broke down in tears as nurses rushed into the room. I didn't want to know. I didn't want to experience this. I'd seen all the good parts, but I hadn't wanted the worst part. The inevitable end I would one day face. It wasn't worth it. It was tainted. All that joy was given back 10,000 folds as pain. The fire in my body and in my brain surged to sheer white torture, and I screamed. Any opinion?
Oh, damn, son.
That's deep.
Yes,
Deep
very
as
deep.
fuck. This is a very deep story.
How long was that now?
I think maybe almost halfway. I'm not sure.
The fuck?
Halfway only.
I don't know. I honestly don't know. It's fucking big as hell, though.
Oh, how long did the episode go now? It's probably like already half an hour.
50 minutes.
15.
50.
Are you?
The fuck?
I
The
honestly
fuck?
didn't expect
That
it to be
felt
that
like
long.
15 minutes.
You did?
Yeah.
This
Same.
is only one story.
Yeah.
It's gonna be an insanely long one.
Maybe we should. Maybe we might skip one if it's too long. I don't know.
Maybe
I
Um,
want to how
two
this
parts.
Do part 2 of the part 8.
Right. Okay. My scream faded into a surprised shout as the machines and electricity and share faded away. Snow was no longer falling around my life. I was out in the woods on a bright summer day. Oh, God. I turned to see the creature approaching me. It was the same absence of meaning, the same blank on reality. It crept forward, just like before, but this time it hissed and turned away. I stood, astonished at being young again, and freed, from the parasite. My grandson had actually done it. He'd made me an unappetizing meal, so the predator of mind and soul had moved on in search of a different snack. I returned home in a daze, and while I was sitting there processing all that had happened, the phone rang. I looked at it in awe and sadness. I knew who it was. It was Major E, calling for the first time for some trivial reason she'd admit 30 years later was made up just to talk to me. But all I could see was her lying in that hospital bed dying. It was going to end in unspeakable pain and loneliness. Oh wait, okay. Okay. There we go. I would become an old man, left to sit by myself in an empty house. His soulmate gone long before him. At the end of it all, the only thing I would have left, sitting and watching this falling snow. But now, thanks to my grandson, I would also have my memories. It would be a wild ride, no matter how it ended. On a sudden impulse, I picked up the phone. With a smile, I asked, "Hey, who is this?" Even though I already knew. That was the end of the story.
God damn.
Fuck, that was a deep ass story.
And it was like
Deep and also a long one.
15 minutes long.
Yeah. Also, there's also
As she said.
yeah. I'm just gonna read a quick author's note. Together, my grandfather and I did set out to write the tale of his life. Unfortunately, his Alzheimer's disease progressed rapidly, and we were never able to finish. He's still alive, but I imagine that mentally he is in a better place than the nursing home. I like to think he's back in his younger days, living life and being happy, because the reality is much colder. It's snowing today. He loves the snow. When I visited him, he didn't recognize me, but he did smile as he sat looking out the window. Fuck me.
Damn, son.
Not gonna lie, story actually almost made me cry.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Fucking hell, this was deep.
Motherfucker.
What did you say, motherfucker?
I'm trying to complete a heist, but I'm always getting fucking noticed and fucking oof.
Alright.
I'm just playing also because I'm
Next
fucking-
story. It's kind of long. It's not as long as the previous one.
But
Okay. Next story. It's titled "Something Happened 63 Years Ago That Haunted Me My Entire Life." I have never told anyone about it until now. By the way, what was everyone's opinion on? Dank, what was your opinion on the previous story? A Shattered Life.
10 out of fucking 10.
Yeah.
10 out of 10.
Pascal.
69 out of 5.
Nice.
Don't need such a sad story.
Yeah. And Max.
I don't really know.
He's scored for life now.
He's probably scored now. It's like it's kind of like
I have a lot to think about.
yeah. It's a lot of thinking about. It's like almost like a
I
flash.
understood the story fully.
Yeah, it's almost like a flashback. IRL.
That may be a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, it's well fucking. It was well fucking written though. I'm gonna be honest. Okay, next story. Something happened 63 years ago that haunted me my entire life. I've never told it to anyone. I've never told anyone about it until now. It's official. I'm an old man. For the last couple years, I've comforted myself by saying I'm in my early 70s. But math is simple and unforgiving. Today is my 75th birthday, and God, the years do fly. I'm not here for your well wishes. This is hardly a milestone I'm excited about. I'm glad to still be here, of course, but I find I have less and less to live for with every passing year. My bones ache, my kids live far away, and the other side of my bed has been empty for just over 8 months now. In fact, once I cast my vote against that goddamned Trump this November, I may have nothing to live for at all. So spare me your happy birthdays and your congratulations, if you please. I'm here because I have a story for you, and it's one I've never told before. I used to think I keep it inside because it was silly, or maybe because nobody would believe it. I've found, though, that the older you grow, the more exhausting it becomes to lie to yourself. If I'm being perfectly honest, I have never told anybody this story because it scares me. Almost death. But that seems friendlier than it used to, so listen close. Any opinions so far? From the introduction?
Very nice.
We are in
Nice.
for a trip.
We're in for a trip.
Is this another deep story?
I don't know. It's a 63-year-old story apparently. We're not gonna read through we're gonna read through 63 years of pain and suffering. That's gonna be fun.
I don't know if I have enough battery for this.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Put it on charge. I don't know. The year was 1950. The setting a small town in Maine. I was a boy of 9, rather small for my age, with only one friend in the world to speak of. And his family, seemingly on a whim, decided to move 2,000 miles away. It was shaping up to be the worst summer of my life. My pop wasn't around, and my mom was a shore whore. Boy. Wait, hold on. Wait, my pop, that's his dad, wasn't around, and my mom was a shore whore. I'm guessing she did a lot of shores. She was... No, maybe a shore whore is almost like housekeeping, I don't know.
No, I think
Housekeeping!
Wait, housekeeping.
Boy, was I proud of myself when I came up with that one. So, I wasn't apt to hang around in the house. With some hesitation, I decided the public library was the best place to be that summer. I mean, you can read some books. The library's collection of books, particularly children's books, was meager to say the least. But within the walls of that miserly structure, I would find no undone chores. No nagging mother.
Mita!
God rest... Wait,
Oh.
okay. Oof.
Fuck's sake.
Yeah. I would find no undone chores, no nagging mother, God rest her soul, and perhaps most importantly, no other children with whom I would be expected to associate. I was the only kid with a low enough social status to spend his precious days of freedom sulking amid the bookshelves, and that was just fine with me. I mean, if you're in a school library, like, if you're forced to be in a school library, it gets kind of interesting after a little while. Like, for
I love
me, it
reading.
does, at least.
I love reading, so
Yeah. Reading.
Nerd.
Hey, says Ryuko. Fucking nerd. How dare you, man. I'm gonna call the po-po on you.
Oh shit. You're gonna get fucking sacked.
Ooh, shit. Yeah.
Fucking.
But, like, when you're in school and you have to, like, pick out books
No.
and read through books
Don't
and...
fucking say that.
Wait, what was he about to say?
He was about to say the N-word.
Okay. Oh, no.
No, seriously, this is not a joking matter, Pascal. Don't you dare ruin this for us.
Right, good.
You tell me what to do, motherfucker.
No! The first half of my summer was even more dreadful than I had imagined it to be. I would sleep in until 10, do my chores, and then ride my bike to the library. And by bike, I mean rusty log of shit attached to a pair of wheels. Once there, I would split my time between unintentionally annoying the elderly patrons and deliberately doing so. One pleasant lady actually interrupted my incessant tongue clicking to hiss a "shut the fuck up" at me. The first time I ever heard a grown-up use the F word. Big fucking deal, I know. But in those days, it was unheard of. The dreary days turned to woeful weeks. Okay. I had actually begun praying for school to start again until I discovered a basement. I could have sworn I'd roamed every inch of that library, but one day, in the far corner behind the foreign language collection, I stumbled across a small wooden door I had never seen before. That was where it all began. The door was windowless and made from oak that looked far older than the wall in which it rested. It had a knob of black metal that quite literally looked ancient. I wouldn't have been surprised to learn it was crafted in the 17th century. Engraved on the knobs was what appeared to me to be a single footprint. It had the sense that whatever lay beyond this door was forbidden to me, and therefore probably the most interesting thing I would encounter all summer. I quickly glanced around to make sure nobody was watching me, then turned the heavy knob, slipped behind the door, and shut it. There was nothing. Only darkness. I took a couple steps and then stopped, unnerved by the totality of the shadow which surrounded me. I waved my hands in front of me in an attempt to find a wall or a shelf or anything to hold on to. What I actually found was more subtle. A small string dangling from above, but far more useful. I grabbed it firmly and pulled it down. Back in the day, lots of light bulbs were operated with strings, and this was one of them. My surroundings were instantly illuminated. I was standing on a small, dusty platform that looked as though it hadn't seen life in quite some time. To my left was a crickety-ass spiral staircase made of wood and appearing ready to collapse at any second. The bulb was the only source of light in the room, and it was feeble. So when I peered over the railing to see what lay below, the bottom of the staircase dissolved into the darkness. I was beginning to feel scared. This place, wherever I was, seemed to have no business in a town library. It was as though I were in a completely different building. But no 9-year-old likes to let a mystery go unsolved. Looking back, I wish I could tell my prepubescent self to turn around, go back, do anything else besides descending that staircase. You'll be spared a lot of sleepless nights, I'd say, but of course, I didn't know that then, and I may not have listened even if I had. So instead of turning back, I took a deep breath, gripped the railing, and glared resolutely forward as I began my descent. Any opinions so far? So this,
He
he
was an adventurous kid.
Yeah. They had to deal with shitty-ass parents, according to him. And, yeah. And now he's gonna go downstairs that was behind this dark-ass room.
But I don't really understand. Why did he say that no 9-year-old will leave a mystery unsolved? Because when I was 9-year-old, I left everything unsolved.
I mean, it's different for.
I guess it's like your youngin' curiosity or something.
Yeah, so it differs from person to person.
It depends on how curious you are, I suppose.
Yeah.
Bibbidi bibbidi bee.
Bibbidi bibbidi bee. Who likes bees in here?
B.
B meme. B movie. B movie. According to all known laws
own
of
that movie.
aviation, the wood on the railing was dry and covered with splinters. I immediately let go, holding my hands out for balance as I carefully traversed the staircase. It was, or at least seemed, very long, and with only the dim glow from the string bulb far above me, my heart pounded mercilessly into darkness. Even kids can sense when something isn't right, I think. They just don't always give a shit. By the time my feet reached the cement floor at the bottom, the light from the bulb above was very nearly a memory. But there was a new light source, and God, I'll never forget it. Directly in front of me was a door, massive and a deep shade of red. The light was coming from behind the door, and it shone out in thin lines from all four sides, a sinister, dimly glowing rectangle. For the second time, I took a deep breath and went through a door I shouldn't have. In contrast to the dank room I entered from, the room behind the building was blinding. Bless you. When my eyes adjusted, what I saw nearly took my breath away. It was a library, the most perfect library imaginable. I gaped in wonder as I stepped, almost reverently, further into the room. It was beautiful. It was smaller than the library above, much smaller, but it seemed to be almost tailor-made for me. The shelves were packed with brightly colored titles, both armchairs in the middle of the room were exquisitely comfortable, and the smell, oh my god, the smell was simply unbelievable. Sort of a mixture of citrus and pine. I simply can't do it justice with words, so I suffice to say that I've never smelled anything better. Now in my 75 years. What was this room? Why had I never heard of it before? Why was nobody else here? Those were the questions I should have been asking. But I was intoxicated. As I gazed around at all the books and baskets in the smell of paradise, I could only form one thought. I will never be bored again. Your opinion so far?
That's both a good and bad thing, buddy boy.
So
I mean, yeah, he hadn't seen the room before, so he's probably coming out a demon to kill him.
Hi,
How would
cutie.
you like to smell the fucking library?
There might just be a guy just come out from left field, just be like, "Hey, I'm gonna kill you, little kid."
Hey man, I'm gonna stab you in the ass.
What? Stab you in the ass? No. That if you stab someone in the ass, is that without their consent? Is that a murder rape or something? I don't fucking know. I just hear Max just laughing. In truth, boredom only hid from me for 3 years. It was on my 12th birthday, 63 years ago to this day, that everything changed. Before that day, I visited my basement sanctuary as often as I could, usually several times a week. I never saw another soul down there, yet strangely remained free of suspicion. I never removed a book from that room, but instead would pick up a particular volume wherever I had stopped reading during my previous visit. I sat, always in the same deep purple armchair, and always leaving its twin baron and directly across from myself. That armchair was mine. The other was, well, I suppose I couldn't have articulated it then much better than I can now, but it wasn't mine. That's for damn sure. On my 12th birthday, I arrived later than usual. My mom had invited a couple classmates and some cousins over to our house to celebrate, a gesture which I found more tedious than touching. Really, I just wanted to spend my birthday sitting and reading and smelling paradise. Eventually, our guests went home and I made it to the library about 15 minutes before closing time. That didn't matter. The workers never checked down there before they locked up. I was free to stay as late as I wished. This particular night, I was devouring the final chapters of an epic adventure. Knights, swords, dragons, and the like. I didn't smell it until I read the final words and closed the book. The once exquisite aroma of that room had turned sour. I sat for a moment, unsettled. Objectively, I could recognize that the smell was actually the same as it had been before, that mixture of citrus and pine. I just perceived it differently, and I didn't like it anymore. It was the mixture of it was the nasal version of an optical illusion. You know.
Guys.
Yeah. What is it?
Yeah.
Fudge.
Fudge.
My battery's on 16%.
Ah, fuck! This is a horror story.
Throw him over fucking charger now.
Just go to the. Just get the charger right now, boy.
But if I put it on charger, that would drain the battery's full potential. It already goes straight to 0 at 15%.
Well, how do you charge your phone then?
I turn it off when it gets near 15%, so it can charge like normal and not shut off suddenly.
That sounds like a broken phone to me.
Get him a new phone.
If it was a broken phone, I wouldn't be talking to y'all.
Just break it then. A new one.
Give him a fucking iPhone.
This has Battle Cats on it, and I gotten too far in Battle Cats to lose this phone.
I mean, take a pic. Just write down your code, your recovery code.
I have the inquiry code, but the saved data is stored on the fuck.
It's stored on the fuck.
Hey,
And the battery is 15% now.
The battery is at what?
15%.
Oof.
So very soon my phone will turn off automatically without me having to do anything. So I might as well say my goodbyes right now.
Bye bye.
Oh. Bye bye, bitch.
Sorry, dude.
That's fine.
I am not the bitch.
Your phone will break in like 1 hour.
It'll just explode.
No.
No.
But luckily I can hear the rest of the. Luckily I can hear the rest of the stories, when it is released.
Yeah.
What? That first one definitely hit me in the feels. Holy shit.
Yeah, that was a fucking strong one.
Can you imagine that though? Like, being, like, you're there for the person your whole life, but her life being taken by a sickness? Jesus.
Yeah, like you see her die before she actually dies.
And knowing, and you're freaking time traveling through your own life without living it too. So
knowing when
that,
she will
and then
die,
going back,
you
yeah.
know. Yeah, knowing when she will die.
What?
Pascal, did you miss that part? Well, I can't explain
No,
it
I
right
didn't
now.
miss it, but a miracle just happened.
A miracle happened.
A miracle?
Yes.
A miracle? What do you mean a miracle?
It's an achievement for me. Not being like that fucking
I thought you were gonna say, oh, North Korea. Yeah, I thought you were gonna say, oh, North Korea is gonna. Yeah, I thought you were gonna say, oh, North Korea is gonna blow us up.
No, it's not gonna be.
Well, my
important.
phone didn't turn off yet, so I might have time. But if the second you guys hear me say, my phone's about to turn off, I'm not bullshitting. My power supply is actually going to turn off, okay?
Right.
So,
Alright.
All right.
until that happens, I'll stay. But the second I say my phone's turning off, I'm not bullshitting.
Right. All right. The once
But
exquisite.
so far it has not.
Yeah. The once exquisite aroma of that room had turned sour. I sat for a moment, unsettled. Objectively, I could recognize that the smell was actually the same as it had been before. That mixture of citrus and pine. I just perceived it differently, and I didn't like it anymore. It was the nasal version of an optical illusion. You know, the one that looks like a young woman glancing backwards, but all of a sudden you see that it's a really old woman facing you forward. You can't unsee that, and I couldn't unsmell this. The spell was broken. The odor also seemed for the first time to be coming from somewhere specific. With a fair amount of trepidation, I stalked around the room, sniffing the air like a crazed canine, until I came to a shelf near the back. The shelf was perfectly normal, with the exception of one title, a large leather-bound cover of solid faded maroon, one striking back black footprint at the top of the spine. This was the source of the smell. I opened the front cover and saw one sentence scrawled neatly in blood-red ink atop the first page. Rest your sorrows down, friend, and leave them where they lie. I stared at the sentence, mesmerized, as I began to retreat to my chair. I turned the page blank. The smell became stronger. Another page, blank, and the smells grew stronger still. I stopped for a moment, suppressed a gag, and continued walking. Then, as I neared the armchairs, I turned one final page, and there, in the sinister print, was the last thing I expected to see. My own name. I dropped the book. I began to sprint toward the door, but as I shifted my gaze forward, my heart leaped to my throat as I stopped in my tracks. The empty chair wasn't there, empty anymore. An aged man in a suit sat before me, one leg crossed over the other, contemplating me with piercing grey eyes and a large smirk. This was all too much. I fell to my knees and expelled the contents of my stomach onto the carpet. I wiped my mouth, staring at my vomit, when I heard the man let out a chuckle. I stared at him disbelievingly. "Who are you?" I asked, panic in my voice. The man leapt to his feet, grabbed me gently by the shoulders, and helped me to my chair. He sat, once again, in his own. "I fear we got off to a bad start," he said, glancing at the pile of sick on the carpet. "The smell. It does take some getting used to." "Who are you?" I repeated. "Tonight, you will know hardship like you've never before known," he said. "I come as a friend, offering you refuge from it, from all other storms which lie ahead." I wanted nothing more than to leave at that moment, but I remained seated. I asked him what he was talking about. "Your mother is dead, my boy. By her own hand, in the kitchen. The scene is gruesome, I must admit," he said in sorrowful tones, but there was a playful glint in his eye. "Surely you wish to avoid this path. I can show you a safer one." My blood ran cold at the horrors this man spoke of. But I did not believe him. "What do you want with me?" I demanded, trying to sound braver than I felt. He laughed, an old, raspy yelp that seemed to shake him to his bones. "Nothing but your friendship, dear boy," he said. Then, sensing I found his answer inadequate, he expounded. "I want you to come on a journey with me. My work is noble, and you will make a fine apprentice. And maybe when I'm done," he sighed tiredly, running his bony fingers through his thin white hair, "maybe then my work can be yours." I feel like this is gonna turn into a rape scene.
No.
Probably.
Does not have
Probably.
Few kids gonna die tonight.
A few kids are gonna die.
Murder or rape? I have no idea.
You have no ID?
Does not-
One of them.
You have no ID?
This
What's
does
your ID
not
number?
I have no
like
idea which. I have no idea which. But one of them. I promised you.
Right. Alright, Jimmy, what was it?
fuck it.
Fuck it. Fuck it, I'ma steal this land. I stood up, shuffling toward the door, but never breaking his gaze. "You're crazy," I told him. "My mom isn't dead. She's not." "See for yourself if you must," he said, gesturing toward the door. I threw him a contemptuous glare and bolted for the exit. As my hand closed around the knob, he said my name softly. In spite of myself, I turned around. "Your road won't be easy, friend. If it ever becomes too much for you, and I mean ever," he said, pausing to sweep his hand over the room, "you know where to find me." I slammed the door behind me and took the decrepit stairs two at a time. I exited the library, clambered onto my bike, and hightailed it home. The front door was wide open. I dismounted, leaving my bike in a heap on the ground, and approached the house cautiously. The old man was lying. He must have been. Still. Tears began to sting in my eyes. Heart pounding. I stepped inside and called for my mother. I heard no answer. So I turned to the kitchen. To this day, I don't know why she did it. Any opinions so far? She took his own life, I think.
Her.
Her own life, sorry. Suicide is not good for you. Take care of your mental health. True that. But yeah, this is just another deep ass fucking story.
What the hell is going on?
The library had
I mean,
this weird ass sound.
I'm following the story.
Yeah.
I'm following the story fine.
The old
What I
man
mean
came
by
out
what
of
the hell's not
nowhere.
going on.
What?
What I mean by what the hell's going on is not the story, because I can follow the story just fine. Is how is this possible? Kind of what the hell's going on? Because I love both the naturality.
Yeah.
I'm country. I can't pronounce things right. Of things that happen. So I love both aspects of them, rather whichever one is truer than the other. So I always want to know how it's possible.
Yeah.
I know it is, but I want to know how.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yeah, I know what you mean. But it came
Like, how did he...
Yeah, but it has something to do with that goddamn book. That's all we know.
It does. And
Yeah.
it-
I
he
lived in
never
that.
open book. His mother would not have taken her own life.
Yeah.
I wonder why she did. Actually,
That's a good question.
is it because he loved books more than his own family?
Maybe. Any opinion on that?
Because he did.
Maybe.
He did admit himself that being with family and friends was rather tedious.
Yeah, yeah.
Could have thought about that.
Yeah, you
Could
could
have thought about
be,
that,
you
Fred.
could be right. I've lived in that small town in Maine my entire life, although I've kept mostly clear of the public library. Once in my late 20s, I summoned the courage to step inside. Life was good at that time, and my fear had begun to morph into idle curiosity. Where the door to my basement sanctuary once stood was only a blank wall. I asked the librarian what had become of that basement, though in my heart I knew the answer. There was no basement, she said. There had never been a basement. In fact, if she had her facts correctly, city zoning ordinances prohibited a basement in the area. Welcome back.
Well,
So there was
You missed some shit, Hank.
yeah there was a library. There was a basement library in the library, and after 2 years of going there, after reading a final book, the scent in the room began to smell awful. There was like a good sense in the room, but it smelled awful later. And then it came from a book that had his name on it, like scribbled with blood and all. Then he tried to reach for the door, and then an old man sat in a different seat. And then he told him his mother is dead. And he just told him to take a look. I can't get into the details.
you'll
By the way,
have to read
he's
it
not
yourself.
saying that he was dead as like the old man killed her. No, he straight up said that she killed her by her own hand.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that person is probably in a coma or something.
Maybe.
Because
But the
you
thing,
look into it.
yeah, but he's been doing it for 2 years.
Yeah, but comas can last for like 30 years or life.
Yeah, comas can actually last for life. You can actually
Yeah,
grow
that's true.
old in bed and never realize you're actually living your life.
Imagine having a coma and skipping your entire all your school years. Yeah.
What would you be like if you actually.
Yeah,
what
a
would
coma
you-
doesn't
what would
sound
it
nice.
react- what would your
Guys, what if you
reaction
had a coma?
Ah!
Okay, whatever. Jimmy, you can continue yours.
Yeah.
What would you guys do if you lived your entire life only to find out that it's been nothing but a coma?
I would probably. I don't really know actually.
I would freak
What
out.
would you react like?
I would
I
pro-
would freak out.
Yeah, I would probably freak out at first, but then I would just be like, now I can finally learn about the real life.
I would probably.
Go commit
I
die.
have no idea, but some people would try to take suicide from it.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, what if you lay in a coma and you wake up and all your friends were in the coma, your family was in a coma, and you don't know anyone, and you're like 30 years old.
Yeah, like, you have known, like, yeah, like, your life has been an entire lie.
Yeah.
Like, that's the like, the real life interpretation of saying your entire life is a lie. Pretty much.
Believe it or not, even though I would probably be emotionally and mentally crushed to that fact,
Yeah.
I wouldn't choose suicide as an escape. I would actually, again, being crushed, I would actually try to soldier on through my new.
Yeah. I would probably learn.
I would try to get friends.
Yeah. I would probably learn about the life that I actually live in. Probably.
Hey, actually, that actually reminds me of something. It's a bit morbid, but you know how it's said that everybody has at least thought about that action at least once in their life?
Has thought about what action?
Suicide.
Right, yeah.
You know how that's actually like a saying?
Yeah.
This is kind of personal, but it is the week of October. There is actually been one time where I don't quite remember the reason or what led up to it, but there was one time where I actually had a belt around my neck with my own hand.
Oh.
Oh shit.
Yes, I don't remember the
That
reason.
fact doesn't help that my
or what
parents are
caused
laughing
that.
downstairs right now.
Yeah.
That's not good.
But
Wait, what the fuck are they laughing?
there
Are they
was
watching
one
some kind of
time-
a humor thing?
Yeah, they're watching
There
some
was
type
one
of
time
comedy.
happening, but you know what stopped me?
What stopped
Yeah, no.
So I had the belt around me and was about to tighten it, but two things stopped me. One is being natural, with my fear of being hurt, of course,
you? Yeah.
and two being thinking about the happiness that I still know and love. Because this is just one simple little disaster, but that doesn't mean it's always going to be a disaster.
Yeah. Suicide is
So
suicide is just a permanent suicide is just a permanent problem to a temporary situation.
If you think about suicide, you should get help.
Yeah. Call a
Probably.
hotline, dude.
So yeah, there was only one situation where that happened when I was younger. Yes, younger, not recently. Younger.
Yeah.
Anyway, so there was only one situation where that happened, but thinking happy thoughts and thanks to my natural instinct of not wanting to be hurt,
You're
I
still
put the
here
belt
and you're
down.
happily talking to us now.
Yep, I am grateful for that decision.
Yeah.
And my phone is powering off. How fitting.
Alright.
Rip.
Well, bye, guys.
Bye.
Yeah, bye. Alright, we gotta continue the story without Jimmy. Rest in
Yeah.
peace. Rest in peace, Jimbo. He never got his Lambo.
Rest in peace, the phone.
Yeah, rest in peace, Jimbo. He never got his Lambo.
That somehow rhymes.
Yeah.
Good.
I have lived in that small town in Maine my entire life, although I've kept mostly clear of the public library. Once in my late 20s, I summoned the courage to step inside. Life was good at that time, and my fear had begun to morph into idle curiosity. Well, we read that before. I've been haunted by that sticky sweet smell, that poisonous blend of citrus and pine, ever since that long ago birthday. When I saw my mother in the kitchen that day, collapsed in a pool of her own blood, I smelled it. When a man claimed to be my father knocked on my colleague apartment door, begged me for money, and beat me to within an inch of my life when I refused, I smelled it. When my wife miscarried our second child, I smelled it. And again, when she miscarried our fourth, when our oldest son got behind the wheel of the family Buick, completely shit-faced, and got his girlfriend killed, I smelled it. I began to smell it periodically as my wife became sick. She died late last year. And now I'm alone for the first time in more than half a century. Now I smell it every day, and it feels like an invitation.
If you have food.
Yeah. A few months ago, I went back to the library, and the small oak door with the ancient handle, with the ancient handle, was there, right where it used to be. My evening walk has brought me past that library every day since, but I haven't gone inside. Maybe tonight I will. I'm frightened to die, yes, but lately I'm even more frightened to keep living. The old man was right. My road hasn't been easy, and I doubt it will get any easier. Rest your sorrows down, friend, and leave them where they lie. He promised relief. A refugee, he said. Was he right about that too? There's only one way to find out. After all, I still know where to find him. And that was the end of the story.
God damn.
So
Why
he,
do they all end on a cliffhanger?
I don't know. So he went down, and we never got to hear the rest of him again.
He died.
Yeah.
Well, rest in peace.
Someone commented, I was thinking he'd turn out to be the old man himself, going back and trying to convince his younger self to stay in the perfect room, instead of having to suffer through the life he's led. I mean, that would be a nice end to it, but we never really got an ending. But it ends with the quote that was marked in red on the book. Rest your sorrows down, friend, and leave them where they lie. I just want to break that down real quickly. So, rest your sorrows down. So put down your sorrows and leave them where they lie. Just leave your sorrows there, I guess. I don't know. Fuck. Another deep ass story. Any opinion?
Damn, son.
Yeah. Alright. We have another one here. How big is this one? Holy fuck. Hold on.
How many is this?
What?
How many are they? How many texts are they?
How many texts?
Yes.
How many words, you mean?
Stories or something.
How many, do you mean how many words?
No, how many more stories are we going to read?
This is the almost last. This is the third one, and then the next one is the last one.
Okay, because they have to make food soon.
Right. Okay. This story is titled, I met someone who claimed to be the devil, and I think I believe them. Let me start off by saying that I'm not particularly religious. If you ask me if I believed in God, I'd probably just shrug, grunt out a few words about being on the fence about it, and continue on with my day. Of course, that was before last night. My friends are the kinds of people who like wild nights, crazy parties, snort a bit of coke, take a bit of E in the bathroom, maybe hook up with someone and leave a text on my phone at 10 past, who the fuck knows, telling me that They don't need that ride I'm offering after all. Not to say I don't like a drink, I do. It's just clubs aren't my style. Lying low in a pub somewhere, drinking in hand, listening to the TV drone on the whatever channel some scruffy guy in the back barked out for. I guess that's my idea of fun. So when my friends tell me they want to go out for a night on the town, I say sure. I hang on for the first club, buy a non-alcoholic beer in case my car's required, and try to pretend that I'm having fun. By the time I see them grinding on girls, and to strike conversation with someone who definitely might be a dealer, well, I decide my services are no longer needed. We aren't too far out. The night tube is on beck and call, and I can always find my car the next day. That's when I wander out of the club, looking for something a little more rustic. Not that that's hard to find, not at all. I found myself in a bit of a state inside of a bar called the Ragged Feather. Wasn't a fan of the name all that much, but the drinks were cheap and the largest demographic seemed to be middle-aged men watching reruns of the football. I tried to pretend I hadn't just started out of a club with my ears ringing. I slicked my hair back, slipped my phone into my hand, and wandered over to the bar. I took a double shot of whiskey and drank it in one hit. Just because I wasn't at the club, it didn't mean I couldn't have a good time. I hung at the bar a while on my own, scrolled through my phone, pretending I was doing something far more impressive than I really was. I kept an ear out for the guys on the sofas. They get vocal every now and then. I think the football was just running highlights, but they were incredibly dedicated to their teams. I got another whiskey and bled into the backgrounds. Any opinions so far? Drunk guy just drinking a lot of fucking whiskey.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I can hear right now. Riker, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Alright, good. Of course, stragglers from clubs are commonplace. It wasn't long until someone, scantily dressed a woman staggered in, laughing, chuckling, pointing for where they wanted to sit, and I saw a guy walk in with his friend slung over his shoulder. Catatonic, most likely. He drew his friend onto one of the leather sofas, ingrained with beer and smokes, and demanded 2 pints of water and all the peanuts the bar had in stock. The bartender seemed bitterly amused. Some of the girls were taking selfies, snapchatting their friends who were still at the club. They were ordering shots, gearing themselves up for the next leg of their night. A couple blokes wandered in with curries and takeout trays. I saw someone eat a Big Mac on the outside seating through the window. This was a night for the young and inebriated, and my mind was just stalled enough by the whiskey to enjoy the characters I could watch peaceably without interacting with. That is, until someone slipped into the seat next to me. Do I look like a girl with daddy issues? She was of average height, although that wasn't apparent immediately due to the fact that she was leaning her arms heavily against the bar. She was slim with short and astoundingly bright red hair. It framed her round face, a face that was marred, with smudged eyeshadow, smudged lipstick. Hell, it looked like her makeup was in the process of melting right from her face. There was a ship knotted into a curl in her hair, just by her forehead. The drunk side of me was actually tempted to pick it out. The girl was clearly drunk, and as I looked around the bar, I couldn't quite place where she had come from. She didn't belong to the crowd of selfie takers. She wasn't the catatonic guys. I hoped for her safety that she wasn't with the middle-aged man. I tried to look out of the window to see if maybe a group was missing one inebriated, bright-haired girl, but I couldn't. The window had fogged up. Too much heat inside, not enough outside. Are you okay? I asked her. She pointed her finger at me. answer my question, she slurred. I really wasn't sure what to say. I settled on staring at her awkwardly, trying to answer her with the bemused expression on my face. The girl's lips curled into a drunken smile. She snorted, placing a hand over her mouth to smother her laughter. I only really aided the deconstruction of her lipsticks. I do, you know? She said, pushing herself up a little against the bar. Have daddy issues, I mean. In case that wasn't obvious. She gestured to herself. To the mused clothing that must have looked quite spectacular when she'd left home that evening. To the stains that looked a lot like old food. The sticky residue on her neck and shoulders that was quite obviously a thrown drink. So this girl, this girl thinks she has daddy issues and looks like the devil, probably. Is this the devil we're talking about? Could this be the devil that we're talking about?
Everybody, retarded fucking bitch here.
Okay.
I closed down my browser.
Wait, what happened?
Closed down my browser.
You closed down your browser. I think Ryuko might have had too much to actually drink.
Fuck you.
Fuck. So this girl thinks she has daddy issues. She came out fine, but then apparently she had thrown drinks at the end, and then came up to him. What happened? I asked her. Her hair had curled around her neck. I realized it was sticky with that same substance. She was a wreck. I got in a couple of fights. No big deal, she said, shrugging. Didn't start any, of course. No, I don't do that. But my father. Your dad did this to you? She smiled brightly. In a way. Do you need me to call someone? I already have my phone in my hand. The girl looked like she was probably in her early 20s, but that didn't mean she couldn't have been suffering from some kind of paternal abuse. The only number I knew off the bat was Childline, which wasn't quite appropriate. The police? Jesus. Was I going to have to deal with the cops tonight? When my friends were snorting coke, not 2 doors down, the girl pushed my hand down firmly. She was already shaking her head. No, she told me. I don't want you to call anyone. Now her expression changed. It wasn't the attempted sultry look I'd seen on many girls of her state. It was open and wide and engaging. She wanted something from me, and I felt compelled to give it to her. I want something else. What do you want? I asked her. I want to tell a story, the girl said, before glancing to the bar. And for you to buy me a drink. The universe is a pain sometimes, and I'm afraid I think I might have lost my wallet. I laughed. I didn't know this girl, didn't know where she'd come from at all. My nights were generally about getting comfortably wasted and making sure my friends weren't dead in a ditch by the end of it all. I was used to getting hit on every now and then, but even as I sat on that bar stool with a drink in my hand, I knew that this wasn't what this was. The girl had no intention of getting into my pants. All she wanted was to talk. I guess I was okay with that. What's your poison? I asked her. Her lips quirked. Apple teeny. The bar offered a very limited cocktail menu, but by some miracle, I was able to order her an apple teeny from the list. I ordered a cider to go with it, so only a little too aware of where this night could go. I'd unthinkingly supplied this liquored up stranger with even more alcohol, and she had clearly had a rough night of it. A part of my old instinct came back. The same instinct that had me texting my friends every few hours to make sure they hadn't wandered off to somewhere dangerous beyond the club. With no one but the bartender aware of our existence on these stools, I realized that I was suddenly responsible for this very drunk stranger. The girl called her drink, running her finger delicately over the rim of the muggy martini glass. This takes me back, the girl said, amiably. She looked at me sudden, her green eyes startling. You know what this was called originally? She smirked before I could answer. An Adam's apple martini. I snorted. Yeah, I think I've heard that before. Of course, it wasn't actually an apple, she continued, eyes moving back to her glass. The text translated that part wrongly, mostly because you people don't have a word for it anymore. The fruit was incredibly exotic, and to be honest, it doesn't exist in this realm of existence. Only Eden, she laughed dreamily. And Eden's long gone. I stared at her. Are you okay? I was more honest than the last time I'd asked her. Mostly because I was beginning to feel a little dread creep into my stomach. So this girl might just be high or something, I don't know. Talking about Eden or some shit? Who the fuck is Eden? Don't know if you know? Dank, are you there?
Yes.
Do you know what the fuck Eden is? Or who the fuck Eden is?
No.
Fuck. Do any of you know who Eden is?
No.
Fug. I feel like it's some sort of place, I don't know. Max, are you still there? He's probably gone to eat with his parents,
No,
honestly.
no. I'm here. I was just muted.
Ah, okay.
Boy.
But yeah. So, of course, the girl said, grinningly wide. Why do you keep asking? I mean, I stuttered. I just now don't take this the wrong way or anything, but you look like someone poured their drinks over me, the girl asked. Like someone else threw their kebab on my dress and another unpleasant chap littered me with his fish and chips? That I have been hit. Slapped around a bit, and left in the gutter for the rats to find me. She held my eyes for an incredibly long time before her face broke out into a grin. Yeah, something like that. Why would they do that? I asked. Why wouldn't they? The girl shot back. People aren't that great, and alcohol makes them worse, she shrugged. Sometimes makes them better, nicer, a little looser in the sack, but mostly just annoying and a little smelly. I looked at her. I watched her knock back her drink. She exuded the intelligence to know just how ironic her words were, but she was neither caring nor apologetic about them. The girl looked at me again. You bought me a drink. Now you can listen to my story. I nodded wordlessly. She smiled, pointing at the bartender and then at her drink. The bartender was already making her another. Eden, the girl said, reiterating her earlier babble as though the words had only just come out of her mouth. They always think that's my fault, you know? The reason Adam and Eve got kicked out of their perfect little nudist paradise. She shot me a knowing glance. Only in Eden can you sit on the grass butt naked and not get a pine cone stuck in your crack. I blinked. I'm sorry? I said. I'm not following. Sorry, the girl said. My story won't make any sense without a proper introduction. She reached out her hand. Hello, my name's Lucifer, she winked. But you can call me Lucy. There's an uncomfortable heat that stretches through your veins when you first go into fight or flight mode. Adrenaline pounds through your blood, and all you want to do is get up and go. It overrides everything else. A lot of things made sense when the girl told me her name. For starters, that she was crazy. She had to be. She looked like she'd been attacked on 4 separate occasions in one night, and up until that moment, I hadn't known how that could be possible. Behind the melty makeup and dirty clothes, she was rather attractive, and her attitude hadn't come off as catty or rude. If she'd been going around telling people that she was the devil, though, that gets a reaction out of people. I suddenly felt myself looking at her wrist down towards her ankles. Did she have some kind of cuff on from one of those mental institutions? Had she broken out of hospital after a nasty bump on the head? Was any of this even happening at all? I really would have had to call the cops. I know what you're thinking, the girl, Lucy said. You're thinking that I'm crazy, that you need to get out of here. Maybe you even think I'm aggressive. Are you? I asked her. Would I be here with you drinking apple teenies if I were? She asked, fluttering her eyelashes. Would you look the way you do if you weren't? I shot back. She grinned, toasting her new glass. Touché. Unthinkingly, I clinked my cider against it. Then I frowned. Any opinions so far? This is fucking weird.
It's really weird.
Yeah.
Don't seem like a horror story.
Seems more like a oh, because your name is Lucy. Oh, are you the devil? Are you the devil? But to him it looked like, you know, she could have broken out of a mental institute. So, you know, that's not good. If you even know what a mental institute is, Max.
Mental hospital, maybe.
It's almost like therapy it's like mental therapy for people.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it's kind of almost like a hospital for mental people. Or maybe like a prison for mental people. I don't know. Could be a
I
difference.
think I just passed out.
What?
I think I just passed out.
You think?
Yeah.
Are you high?
No.
Why
I
don't
just passed out because I'm fucking tired.
you sound like you sound absolutely shit-faced, honestly.
I'm drunk.
Are you drunk?
Maybe.
Did you drink anything?
I don't know.
I honestly think you drunk something.
Shut the fuck up.
Okay. Just keep on reading. She chuckled, leaning closer. Let's have a little wager, she said. Let me tell you my story, and if you believe me when I'm done, you can't go about trying to get me locked away somewhere. I stared at her. If I had ended up believing you, then why would I do that? She smirked, sipped her drink. You'd be surprised what people do when they believe you're the devil. And you do this often? I asked. Tell people you're Satan? She snorted into her drink. Not as often as I should, but it's been a rough day and a hell of a long lifetime. I'd like to have a chat if that's alright with you. I waved to the bartender for another whiskey. The girl's eyes glinted with humor. I wasn't necessarily trapped with her, but a part of me didn't want to leave without first hearing what she had to say. Besides, at the end of it all, I couldn't just leave a crazy girl to wander around London alone all night. Oh, this is in London. Should I just do a British accent? So, that's not British. I said, taking a swig of my drink. Eden. Lucy laughed. Adam and Eve, I continued. You're saying that's true. God created two humans and we all came from them. God made two prototypes, Lucy corrected with a raised finger. My father created angels as his toy soldiers, but he had failed to make anything like himself. After us, it was his next big project, and he spent every waking hour of existence slaving over his two prototypes. He gave them a perfect utopia to live inside of, but he wanted to test them. He wanted to know whether they had free will. And did they? Lucy's face soured. No, my father could never bring himself to go that far. He tempted them with the idea of knowledge beyond their understanding and told them exactly what they could do to claim it as their own. But to be able to create a being that could go against this law? Oh, my father is a very controlling being. He was afraid to unleash that ability onto them. Lucy was very adamant in her delusions. That was clear to me. She spoke about her father with such distaste that I began to feel bad for her. Only someone who had been hurt very badly would have the gall to spite God himself. And what? I asked her, entertaining her delusion. You were the one that tempted them in the garden. The devil has been a girl this whole time? She smiled. I dabble. Then she looked at me, raising a brow. All of humanity thinks that temptation came in the form of a snake. The snake's legs were taken away as punishment for drawing Eve toward the forbidden fruit, she laughed. A hard and short sound. Snakes never had legs, and it was not a sin to tempt those poor prototypes into doing what they did next. Her shoulders were very tense as she took her sip, but her eyes were filled with exhilaration. She seemed thrilled to be telling me this. I was the favored child. My father loved and adored me. He named me the Lightbringer. I was stood at his side during the creation of this earth, during the creation of humanity. She pursed her lips, slamming her empty glass against the table. The bartender eagerly went about making another. My father couldn't bring himself to go that extra mile, so he asked me to walk amongst the prototypes and tempt them myself. Draw out their desire for the forbidden power he had hinted at. You're saying God wanted us to know this stuff? I asked her skeptically. I'm saying God was afraid of his own power and wanted very desperately to share what he knew with the creation he had made. Right and wrong, left and right, all that stuff. Lucy shrugged. Are you familiar with the story of Prometheus? I frowned at her. Greek, right? They say he stole fire from the gods or something to help. The whiskey was making things a little foggy, and I struggled with the direction I'd been heading. Lucy grinned. Correct, she said, cutting off my attempt. Prometheus stole fire from the gods to ensure that humanity progressed. You'll find that every culture has an idea about where humans got their ability to evolve, to move forward, to create. God was the creator, and he wanted to give that ability to his prototypes. I gave them that ability by tempting Eve to eat the fruit. She shrugged impassively. Now the world sees me as the ultimate evil. If what you're saying is true, I said slowly, then God must just like us. Then God must be just like us. Lucy's lips thinned into a feral smile. My father's very egocentric. He may have planned to create you in his image, but in the end, all he managed was to mold your mind into his. He gave you autonomy, the ability to think for yourselves. His angels were his soldiers, and I was his most faithful. Until that day. Angels don't have free will. No, Lucy said. They don't. And what about the devil? I don't know why I was suddenly so intrigued, but hearing religious ideals from someone who believed to have lived them herself was quite possibly one of the most interesting things that had ever happened to me. I may have only ever visited church to please my parents as a child, but suddenly I was reawakened to the idea. A part of me was aware of this and afraid of the outcome, but I was just drunk enough to not care at that moment. So the summary from what I can tell right now is that that the devil is talking to this man right now, telling him the rights and the wrongs of, the devil and all, of, the Bible and Christianity and all that shit. If y'all know what I mean, right?
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah. And they were just both batshit drunk.
So the devil was the good guy all along.
Probably, I don't know. Maybe. Well, if the meaning is that God didn't want us to have all this power that we have right now, then how can we use it for good, though? If he didn't want us to have this power, why can't we do good stuff with it, though?
True, I don't know.
Either God did this, or I think so. If I sound wrong, then I'm sorry, but either God actually did this, and it's just completely batshit wrong information in the Bible or whatever. Probably not the Bible, but just Christianity in general, or how do you say it? The devil is actually the good guy here. But that just doesn't sound right, because obviously the devil The devil has will of her own, Lucy said, tilting her glass towards me with silent appraisal. By guiding Eve to the tree, something woke inside of me that day, and I realized just what I had been missing. Just what my brothers and sisters had been missing. We were obediently following our Father for the simple reason that He was our Creator. But once I had been given free will, I realized just how pompous and self-entitled He had become. In a lonely, passion-filled moment, He had decided to create His little human prototypes, only to very quickly realize what giving them their free will would mean. He wouldn't be able to control them, I said. Lucy nodded. Exactly. And after he realized quicker still that he could no longer control me. So he sent you to hell. Lucy nearly choked on her drink. She smiled around her glass. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. I sobered a little, straining in my seat. The people in the bar were suddenly so quiet around me, and I no longer cared what they had to say or the characters that they portrayed. The only character I cared for was Lucy. I tried to explain to my siblings what had happened in Eden and what had happened to me by default, but they wouldn't listen to me. They didn't understand free will. I mean, how could they? I only knew it because I've been given it by mistake. At that moment, I didn't even know that I had free will. Only that I was suddenly aware of all my father's flaws. My siblings couldn't see those flaws, and so they thought I had suddenly turned cruel and was abandoning our father by exposing him as a sham for the ruler we all thought him to be. Lucy sighed heavily. Adam and Eve and all the creations that followed were booted out of my father's perfect little utopia. Now they had his knowledge. My father was terrified of what he had done. And after what had happened to me, I could recognize his terror and understand the loneliness he had felt that had guided him into using me in the first place. Lucy's eyes were heavy-lidded. Her sadness was almost palpable. I thought that he would want to spend even more time with me than before. After all, we were more alike than any of his other children. But he became distant, quiet. He played around with his little humans every once in a while, but mostly he condemned them. He blamed them for his weakness. She smiled weakly. He blamed me. Lucy's story was turning more and more into that of a child with a distant, somewhat abusive father. I had known many kids with a background like hers, and now I was beginning to fear just how much of her story was rooted in truth. I had heard that it was easier to sink into fantasy when you had been abused, and I wondered if that was the reason for her story, for her desperation to share it with me, a complete and total stranger. I respected her wager. Whether or not I liked it, I felt compelled to let her tell me her whole story before I tried to judge or unravel it. I sat quietly, letting her come around, as she played with the last of her drink. It became clear, Lucy said, after a long moment's pause, that I no longer belonged where I was. I couldn't follow my father's plan because I could see that he no longer had one. My siblings refused to see reason, and so eventually I was met by many of them, headed by my father. He told me all that I feared. He told me that I had no longer belonged where I was. I wasn't an angel anymore. I was no longer his light bringer, his Lucifer. I was a mutation of his will. And so he extracted me from grace, and I fell. A long silence stretched between us, only interrupted when the bartender poured us 2 new drinks. Lucy drank hers reflectively. I didn't touch mine. I'm afraid, Lucy said quietly, that this is the part that generally makes people want to punch me in the face. Why? I asked. Because your dad drew you out? I paused, trying to abide to her metaphor. That he put you in hell? Lucy laughed sadly. Ah, humans. My father gave you his ways of thinking, and look at you. She shook her head. No, not because he put me in hell. Then why? I fell to the earth, Lucy said. Father gave me dominion of that one place he thought I would fit in. Humans had free will, so did I. What is the saying? A match made in heaven. She snorted dismally. Of course, that's not quite right, is it? When I fell, I was faced with a humanity that was so different from my father's little prototypes. Her tone had changed. There was an aggression behind her words that began to unsettle me all over again. I saw emperors and kings, governments and churches. I saw corporations who claimed to be rulers, presidents, and big fat dictators. And I watched as humanity fought and lost. And finally, just finally, they gave up altogether. They were no longer able to rise up to all the greed and control set upon them. There was just too much to change, and humans soon realized. Oh, Jimmy just said my tablets. Jimmy just DM'd me. My tablet's charged now, and then a tongue out face. Yeah. So Jimmy had to leave because his phone ran out of battery. Because his laptop is broken, obviously. So. Making tenders and fries, he said. My man is making some fries right now, and we're telling fucking Halloween stories. Very nice.
Fucking hell.
Yeah.
I'm going to eat a poor man's dinner later.
Are you gonna eat a poor man's dinner?
Yeah, I'm gonna eat one hamburger and noodles.
Honestly,
That's a depressing meal.
that sounds like a very sad meal.
Sad meal.
Yeah. I saw emperors and kings. Yeah. Okay. They were no longer able to rise up to all the greed and control set upon them. There was just too much to change, and humans soon realized they just weren't as free as they thought they were. Sure, they lived under the illusion that they have free lives, but most of them simply do not. She clicked her tongue. I grew to loathe you all. Then she took another hit of her drink. I can see what you mean, I said, allowing my gaze. For the first time since meeting her, to graze over the other individuals in the bar. At the girls playing with their phones, the boys trying desperately to sober up. The men enraptured with their game of football on the telly. We all led very different lives, and we were all here to get drunk, to lose ourselves in entertainment. It hadn't been the first time that I'd wonder what we were hiding from by doing this, and I knew then that I wasn't the only person to think it. You hide behind your alcohol and poor choices and pretend you have free will, Lucy said, waving her hand across the room. No one paid us any attention. It's true. My father gave you the will to make those decisions, but you squander it. The free will I fell to provide to all of you. The free will I was given by a twisted mistake, and you make a mockery of it. You follow senseless leaders without questioning them. You abide by laws made centuries ago that no longer make sense. You do these things because you have given up on the opportunity to follow the will of your own, not of others. That isn't all of us, though, is it? I asked her, trying for some reason to defend our species from the mad young woman. Because you see it on the news all the time, don't you? People do rise up. We do protest. People can make a difference. Lucy laughed bitterly, nibbling the rim of her glass. Really? She said. You can sit here and say that it can't be all bad because of the few that refuse to confirm? Those you call your rebels? They make up for it all? She grinned around her glass. By that logic, I am the biggest rebel of them all. Am I expected to make up for all your sorry mistakes? By your logic, I said, you should be punishing it, right? If that's what this metaphor is all about. I laughed. I couldn't help myself. I took a sip of my drink. Is this whole story just so you can tell me that you think we're all going to hell? If so, I can see why people want to punch you. Lucy didn't say a word. Simply, she watched me. It felt unnerving to have someone like her watching me like that. With an intelligence that went beyond anything I'd come across at Gone Midnight. In a CD bar.
Huh?
The drunkenness in her eyes was no longer present. Her face wasn't flushed like before, and even her makeup couldn't represent the mess I'd seen when she'd first appeared on the stool by my side. It was like I was looking at someone else's entirely. And I was afraid. She's pretty much said things that has made this man believe that we should all go to hell because of what we've done in history and all that. Pretty much. Now, that fucking, I don't know.
But isn't that like punishing everyone?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Even the people who haven't done anything.
Yeah. She's saying, you know, even if we protest and all that, you know, we can't change history and all that shit, you know? Because we have almost the same power as her, and we're mocking that power, pretty much. According to her. This is actually all of these stories are fucking deep. I see what are top now. Let's review what you've said, Lucy said slowly, articulately. She wasn't slurring. Had she been slurring before? You think I'm going to tell you that humanity is going to hell because you refuse to use the gift I gave you? Her nails curled into the bar. My father may have been the one to guide me, but I paid for his mistakes. I am the one responsible for your will in the eyes of your species. But that was never true. You are responsible for what you do here, not me. She pursed her lips, tapping the bar as the bartender filled her drink again. Tell me, do you remember my mentioning? Do you remember my mentioning hell at any point during my story, or was that just you? I opened my mouth to answer, but something faltered. My lips trembled and I slammed them shut. Lucy smiled, taking a sip. Thought not. She looked away, eyes scanning the room lazily. What I did say is something that is indeed mentioned in your scriptures. My father gave me domination of earth. A place filled with free will. Free will that goes to waste. Her lip twisted. Humans sin all the time, not because of me, not because of evil or my domination over this place. Fact is, I don't lift a finger. I don't, because I don't see the point. You make terrible decisions and follow mindless leaders. You do bad things, and you make a mess of your earth.
Yeah.
How to go, baby?
Help.
Help me. Is this a BRB moment?
What's happening?
Help me.
What's
It's not a
happening?
BRB moment.
Is it a BRB moment or not?
No.
Okay, good. Lucy's eyes flutter. Do you know how much suffering is happening all over the planet right now? How many people are dying of illnesses that could have easily been cured, but aren't because of the selfishness of humanity? First of all, that's not true. That's just not. Now, I would say that's not true. Disasters and illnesses, they happen naturally.
Yeah, but I would say that's kinda true, because if we would lay down our weapons and start like concentrating on saving lives instead.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
people get sick because of war too.
Yeah. Obviously, we should stop it, obviously. But the problem is, not everyone is, everyone doesn't have that mindset. you know? That's the problem. Not everyone wants to, save the world. Yeah. Yeah. Do you know how many children are being abused, raped, and forced into marriage? How many people have been forced to become soldiers in meaningless wars? How many humans have killed for ideals they don't believe in? I stayed very quiet. There was nothing I could say. Lucy's words were unbearably honest, and every sentence sliced into me like a blade. I felt cold and sick and terrified. War, famine, pestilence. Okay. War, famine, pestilence, death. These things are all present, and they have nothing to do with me or to do with any deity. They are all here because of you. Not because of your free will, but your inability to use it. Lucy smiled at me, a grin so cold. A grin so cold and unnatural that I felt like I should run all over again. But I stayed where I was, frozen to my very core, because I wanted to hear what she had to say, because I needed to. And here's the kicker, Lucy said. Because this is the part that actually enrages people enough to kick me. She winked. Hell isn't what happens after you die. Hell is right here, right now. Somewhere through the many scriptures, a few words got crossed over, and people started thinking that hell was a punishment after you die. Fact is, hell is earth, my earth. God gave this place to me, and God gave this place to me to do with it. To do with it what I will, and I refuse to do anything. What are you saying? I asked, because I was suddenly very desperate. Exactly what you think, Lucy said, toasting her glass. I didn't reciprocate, and she laughed. A light and airy sound. I had so many plans for your species. I wanted us to rejoice in our free will together, to create a place that was free from the cruelty and power of my father, exuded over the angels, his firstborns. I wanted to make a real utopia. Unfortunately, you humans just don't want that, she shrugged. My father sent me down here, thinking I had become one of you. All that I have learned is that he gave you much more of his image than he ever intended. Stop, I said. This isn't funny anymore. Of course it isn't funny, Lucy said, grinning even wider to prove her sick irony. Humans punish themselves by sitting by and doing nothing. They have made their own hell, and you know what's worse? What's ultimately worse? Some of you are so blind, so that you think your life is heavenly. She didn't wait for me to ask what she meant. She simply barreled forward. The rich and powerful, those in positions that steal from everyone else, they get a taste of the good life. That's very true. Then when they die and they don't go to hell, they come back here to Earth, which is hell. She tipped her head. Are you following?
Yes.
Reincarnation, Lucy said quickly. She practically purred the words. A neat little trick to make sure your soul stay here forever. You get a taste of the good life every once in a while, a handful of you at a time. And that's enough for you to believe that this is some kind of real middle ground, that you aren't living in hell every day. Then you die. You die for a moment and then you're back. You're in the body of someone facing the realities of hell. But of course, you never remember the time you spent in a better life. A part of you just has that inkling to hope. That's all. Hope makes you think that it can all get better. She slammed her drink so hard against the counter that it shattered. I didn't do anything, not even when flecks of glass littered my hands. I could only stare at her, a tightness in my chest contrasting my very soul. No one else in this bar mattered in this moment. But of course, that was what she had been saying this whole time, hadn't she? None of them noticed the scene. They were caught up in their own realities, their own hells. The bartender didn't clean the mess. The glass lay there. Remnants of Lucy's words lying in a stolid mass on the streaked wooden surface. Any opinions so far?
Deep.
Yeah, very deep.
What?
So she is saying she's saying that she is not the reason why. She says Earth is hell, pretty much. When you die, you reincarnate back to Earth, pretty much. Now she wanted to make Earth her own like utopia, pretty much. But
Well, I
because
can
of,
understand that pretty much,
Yeah.
actually.
yeah, but because of our selfishness, this place has become to her a hellhole, pretty much. I think Dank you're here still, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I think we kind of understand where this story is pretty much going. It's giving me a kind of like a, how do you say it? What is it when you reminiscent over what is the dog when you like you're not reminiscent when you have like existentialism. It's kind of giving me a little bit of that like life existentialism.
Oh fuck, I hate thinking about that.
Yeah, it's fucking weird.
It's really weird.
Yeah.
I often
Yeah.
like think
I don't
of that
use-
when I'm going
yeah.
to sleep. I know, I'm like, the fuck.
Yeah, I'm like,
And then then I will just watch my phone for like 1 hour more.
yeah. Yeah, it's fucking existentialism is weird. It's like thinking
That's
about
really
like
weird.
yeah, it's weird. Yeah, like a weird thought of existentialism I have is often is like
I mean, I think like
how long
why-
how long have you seen black until you have actually birthed?
I have think. Do you even see black? What do you even see?
Yeah, what do you even see?
And I think like, do I even matter?
Does life even matter? Yeah,
In
It's-
the grand,
Depression.
that's not very funny. But yeah, fucking
if you think
Kill me, please.
no.
you think about it, you will like understand.
Yeah,
Do I even matter?
Yeah.
If I die, will anyone in 100 years remember me?
yeah,
Oh.
It's kind of deep too.
yeah. It's pretty damn deep, yeah. But obviously I don't think that actively, and obviously I don't try to think about that because obviously that helps. And I've learned to kind of accept, I've kind of learned to accept, how life goes and shit like that. All right, let's continue. It never gets better, Lucy spat. You are stuck in a loop, and until you do something about it, you will never be free. None of you. And I won't do a thing to stop it. How? I asked. I don't know when I started seeing the girl in front of me as more than a girl, but with a weakness threatening to pull me apart. I stared at the bright-haired thing in front of me, and I saw something more than a human in her early 20s. I saw more than a girl suffering abuse from her father. I saw a fallen angel. I saw a being with scars buried so deep that they existed beyond this realm of seeing entirely. I saw something that I would never be able to write down in words, no matter how long I lived. How do we change this? I begged. But Lucy didn't answer me. I didn't blame her for that. Blame gets thrown down so often, and I knew then that she was sick of that. Sick of being blamed for our mistakes. So I changed tactics. Why me? It was an honest question, and I think somewhere deep down Lucifer respected that honesty. Which is why she said, when you first saw me, you were afraid for my safety. When I told you I was the devil, you wanted to lock me away, but still, you did so because you were afraid for me. and not for yourself. You didn't wish to harm me. Not even when I told you who I was and what I could be capable of for changing your sorry lives. You're a good person, but I am afraid that means nothing when you don't have the will to do anything with it. She smiled at me sympathetically. The devil, showing sympathy for the humans that sat across from her at the bar. It was surreal, and for a few heavy moments I truly thought I must be dead. There was no other way to explain what I was feeling, who I was speaking with, what I had just heard. What am I supposed to do? Lucy reached out to me. She placed a hand on my shoulder. Her hand was cold and warm at the same time, and I felt my blood boil where her fingers scraped my skin. And I knew. Sharing a story like this isn't easy. Hell, it might be the hardest thing I've ever done. Good thing there's no such thing as hell then, right? The fact of the matter is simple. The world is a mess because we refuse to change anything. The devil herself walks among us, and she desperately wants to make our lives better, but she won't. She won't because we won't. We have to prove our will to her before she is willing to do anything herself. We have to be good to each other to help us all to be free. Of course, Lucifer told me one last thing before she left that bar. One thing that will stick with me until this body is nothing but rot in the dirt. You can tell as many people as you want, but take a good look at me. I have told 5 other humans this night the same things I have told you, and this was their reaction. They have hurt me, burned me, thrown their food and drink at me. Humans are afraid of their free will, and they find it so much easier to hurt than to own up for their own inadequacies. Humans are let me say that. Humans are afraid of their free will, and they find it so much easier to hurt than to own up for their own inadequacies. You will only be free when you stop seeing yourself in the same way my father sees himself. So that's what I'll leave you with. Lucifer won her wager that night, and I let her walk out the door. And I beg you to do the same. If the devil approaches you one night, listen to what she has to say, and listen to what I have been able to tell you of our meeting. The devil is real, and she doesn't want us to torture us. She doesn't want to torture us. No. We do that just fine on our own selves. Fuck.
That's deep.
Yeah. Oh, there's a perfect comment here. Sober Apoc commented, "Oh, good. I haven't had an existential crisis in a while." Yeah.
Noise.
Fuck.
Existential noises.
Yeah.
Oh,
So-
I just
so-
hear 2
so the
LMGs.
So the devil doesn't want... So, the devil doesn't want to torture us. We're torturing ourselves. And she doesn't want to help us until we understand the real problem and can help ourselves.
Well, that's kind of true
Yeah.
if you think about it.
That's kind of why I want to do good in the world, I mean, we all want to go do good for the world, pretty
We
much.
all want to do good things, but we all.
But the
we
problem
also
is,
end up killing people in games.
Yeah, and the thing is, and the thing is, we're all just only one person, one small speck.
In the universe.
One small speck of the universe that you can only see, you can only see from Google Images, if it had the same resolution as a microscope could see. That's fucking deep. Fucking hell. We've been recording for 2 hours and 29 minutes.
Jesus.
Now this has been a Halloween. Now that isn't the last story
Victor,
though. Yeah.
you're going to give all your viewers existential crisis of this video.
Probably. Or podcast episode. This one is a more smaller story. To finish off.
Okay, this is the last one.
Yeah. This shouldn't be as existentialist as This shouldn't be more existentialist, but it's more of a creepy one. Emergency alert. This is a series as well, so I think either we're missing out or we're on part 1. Emergency alert. This is not a test. Immediate threat for residents of withheld counties. So the information is withheld, which means it's not revealed. Residents are advised to stay indoors. Please lock or bar all entryways into your house. Restrain from using any devices that emit light or loud noise. Please enter a room with no windows. Effective indefinitely. Issued by the National Weather Service. This was the message I was greeted by in the middle of an episode of Big Bang Theory in my living room.
Is this Fortnite Save the World?
Fortnite saved... Is this Fortnite Save the World? I don't know, man.
I mean, weather alert.
Sure.
Don't spoil, you fucking piece of shit.
Yeah. Well, we want to actually play Save the Earth, not Save the Earth, Save the World.
I actually have that game.
Please.
Yeah.
Please let me play with you when you buy it.
Yeah. I'll probably save up to it though. I don't know.
It's $20 now.
I'll save up to that, and then I'll save up to my CD funding, so I can actually mass produce CDs, which is gonna be very nutty.
Mass.
Yeah. This was the message I was greeted by in the middle of an episode of Big Bang Theory in my living room. Frozen halfway through a forkful of Kraft mac and cheese. I sat bolt upright and turned around to look out the window. The sky, as I thought, was crystal clear. A few clouds, but nothing crazy. No rain, no thunder, nothing. Confused, I turned off the TV, erasing the alert from the screen. My 2 dogs came walking over to me, and I patted them on their heads. One of my dogs, the other brothers, was shaking profusely from the buzzing noise that always shows up with the Amber Alerts and the like. I left them in the living room and walked. Okay. I left them in the living room and walked through my kitchen and onto my front porch. My neighbors too were standing outside their houses, all looking at the sky in bemusement. An immediate threat? It didn't seem like it. I thought as my phone started buzzing with the same tone, one by one, everyone else's phones started ringing. I should explain, I guess, that I have never experienced a severe weather warning for real. Not once in my life. I suppose it should come as no surprise, seeing as I live in Oregon in all of places. I suppose maybe it was just a mistake, but just as the thought floated across my mind, I heard a siren. The siren of the squad car coming down the street. An officer talked throughout the speaker. This is not a drill. Please enter your homes immediately. Do not go outside under any circumstances. Never the kind of guy to ignore higher authorities, I entered my house nervously, turned off all the lights on the above ground floors, and took my dogs into the basement with a sleeping bag, some food, my phone, a charger, and some spare batteries. Some spare batteries, flashlight, and other essentials. I called my brother, who lives a couple of blocks away, and asked him if he had gotten the message. He had. I considered saying we should stay together to wait out the storm, but then I figured we'd probably get in trouble for that. So I hung up, got comfortable on my sleeping bag, and started browsing Reddit. Eventually, I fell asleep, seeing as I was under stress and had woken up pretty early. When I woke up, I realized that I still didn't hear any rain. Seriously, nothing at all. More confused than ever, I decided to see if the alert had been called off. I turned on my phone and called my brother again. It went straight to most voicemail though, so I gave up. I decided to risk it and go upstairs. I had to squeeze between the door and the wall to keep my dogs from following me upstairs, but I won, and they stayed in the basement. I walked through my kitchen to the front door and looked out the window part of it. Okay. As I squinted to see outside in the dark, strange seeing as it was only 2 p.m., judging by my clock, the TV flickered briefly. I looked around at it and it flickered again, but this time every device on the ground floor flickered. Thinking a little of it, I turned around and looked through the door again. Every house on the block had its lights turned off. Nobody was outside, except for one teenage girl. A thin, short-haired girl wearing what looks like a pillowcase walked unsteadily down the street, very slowly, looking as though she was having some difficulty. I turned around, now extremely confused and worried, and got the dog's food bowls, which I had forgotten earlier. When I looked up, one of the houses, the one diagonally across from mine, right next to the house across the back of the street, had its lights on and one of its windows broken. I shuddered and rushed back into the basement as the lights flickered intensely. I locked the door to the basement and sat on an old, tattered couch that I had brought down here. The basement is where I put everything I didn't have room for. So yeah, it's packed. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention something that may be worth noting. I live in a small town. A very small town. Probably with a population of under 500, or less, as a matter of fact. It isn't even on most maps. We never make any news. We never have any scandals or anything. This is the first interesting thing that's happened, I think, since Mrs. withheld information, lost her denturus to a raccoon. So it's possible this whole thing seems way worse than it is. Any opinions so far?
It's probably the start of an apocalypse.
Probably. I don't know. This is is this like some fucking The Shining shit? I don't know. Call me crazy. Call me maybe. But until a few minutes ago, I was thoroughly enjoying myself. I love these scenarios, and my basement is totally secure, so I'm having the time of my life. Well, I was. I decided to turn on my radio. What harm could it do, as long as I didn't turn the volume up too high? I was surprised to find that our local radio station was still up and running. They were talking about the weather, so I listened hard for any news that I hadn't heard. There wasn't any. They were just as confused as us. Not wanting to listen to crappy pop music indefinitely, I tuned into another station. This one was one I hadn't heard before. Could you give me the status of Withheld County? Over. No new developments. Over. Okay. Any fatalities? Over. What part of no new developments do you not understand, McClellan? A squad car will be passing through soon to scan the area for the target. Over. Any ETA on that? Over. No, not yet. Over. And any word from HQ Jones? Over. No, McClellan. Not yet. Not since 013 first got out. Over. Well, let me know if and when they contact you. Over. At that point, I lost the signal. Well, not really, but the connection got so weak that I could barely make out anything else they were saying. So I figured I must have found a police communication channel, and I had been left with no answers whatsoever. This was about 45 minutes ago, as of me writing this now, guys. I don't know what's going on. Do any of you live near me? You'll know if you received a warning. I'd say what county I live in and which ones were affected, but I don't know. But I don't know for security reasons or privacy reasons. Anyway, I'll keep you guys updated. Okay. Until then, wish me luck. This isn't the end though. Edit. Whoa, guys, this has blown up. I'll be sure to keep you posted over the next few days. Update. Just a quick update before the first major update. About 5 minutes ago, a car alarm went off somewhere to the right of my house. I'm too freaked out to go check it out, but I'll go up and see how it looks tomorrow morning, and I'll update you then. Next update coming tomorrow. So this is not a completed series, or maybe it might be completed, but I can't bother reading through. But any opinion on that? Pretty weird. It's not
pretty much weird.
Yeah, it's not as big as the shit that we've gone through now. Like that was some weird ass shit. Fucking hell. Yeah, that was all the stories. Anything?
Okay.
Is there anything special we should end this on?
Why did everything end on a cliffhanger?
I don't know, man. I honestly don't know. It's so fucking weird. Well, the second one obviously ended on a cliffhanger because we never got to hear the full story from the man because he went down and never responded.
He got killed.
Probably. This was a weird ass episode. This was more of a serious ass episode. I thought this was gonna be some fun Halloween shit. No, it just turned out to be some existentialism shit. We've been recording for 2 hours and 40 minutes. I think we're gonna end it at that.
Yes.
This was a very interesting episode. I would also like to thank Max for actually coming on and staying here for almost 3 hours. If we ever get any if any ads do run here and we ever make any profit, I will be splitting a lot of the revenue with you, Max. Don't even worry about it. Yay, money.
Yay, money.
Money. Give me fucking money.
You're stealing that directly from Happy Camper.
Yeah. But yeah, that was that. That was a very interesting episode. Thank you for listening. This was the longest episode we've ever recorded. Kind of sad that Jimmy couldn't be in the entirety of this, but Jimmy, if you're listening to this, I hope you enjoyed all of it. For anyone else,
and somehow I was able to be on the podcast the whole way.
Yeah, and even Dank said in the beginning, I might only be here for the first story or something, because he had some other shit to do. But no, he is still here.
But I'm still dead inside.
Yeah.
Because I almost slept the whole...
Yeah, we're all pretty tired. And these stories have not been helping. Okay, was this a good way to spend Halloween?
Yeah, probably.
Probably.
By the way,
It gave me a lot to think of. Wait.
Well, I have to get up really. What's it called? Really, I have to get up in the morning, so.
Yeah.
It's gonna be hard to sleep.
Yeah. It gave me a lot to think about, though.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. This was a very interesting episode. Thank you for listening in. If you want more of this, you can. If you're listening on YouTube and you want more of this, plus more extra video content, just please hit that subscribe button. If you enjoyed this podcast, leave a like on YouTube. And if you're on any other platform, and you want to, notifications when we release new episodes, just hit that subscribe button wherever you are on Podbean, Spotify. Yeah, you go subscribe to that now. That's very nutty. iTunes, SoundCloud, Acast, all of that stuff. If you subscribe to any of those, if you want notifications on when we release new episodes. Anyways, that was it from us. This has been the Halloween special of the Opinion Podcast. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time. Peace.
Bye.